Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone is presented by AGR Roofing and Construction. The show starts now. Live from 50th and Capitol Avenue in the Big O. This is Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. 1620thezone.com and 1620 The Zone TV. Now, here's Gary, Matt, and Jimmy.
All right, good Thursday morning in Omaha, where a couple hours ago, storms rolled through here. So some of you may have been up for a while. Some of you may have no idea what we're talking about.
I did not know it rained until I walked outside.
Which one is you, or which one are you, Gary Sharp? Are you the fall asleep sleep through it, or did it wake you up?
Ooh, good question, Jimmy.
No,
on average, I should say.
Yeah,
every time's different.
So last night, the Hap Man and yours truly were doing Storm Chasers, and it was a god-awful game that went nearly 3.5 hours.
Oh, my God.
Unnecessary that it went 3.5 hours.
A professional game went 3.5 hours?
I mean, they used to.
It was a brutal baseball game.
Okay.
Storm Chasers won 13-7. Carter Jensen's on a heater. The next Salvi Perez, who was also on a heater. So I didn't get home until because I stood around and talked to some fellas.
Right.
So I get home till like 11:30 last night.
Oh, my God.
So I'm crawling in bed at midnight, and what was it, about 2? Yeah, 2, the storms rolled through. But I'm not here to complain about not sleeping.
We needed the rain.
Hey,
yes.
Why did you look at me after you said that?
No, I didn't. I just because you're my partner and you're sitting to my left.
Mm-hmm.
But good Thursday morning, everybody. We have lots to discuss because we are 7 weeks away.
49 days. That's less than 50.
Yes.
We are 29 days away from being 20 days away.
Damn right.
So I always think about that and try and do the math in my head, and that's an interesting way to look at it. But I guess that's a Gen Z thing, right?
It is. Oh, my God. It's boy math is what it is. It's
boy
just
math?
like, yeah, that's girl math. You ever heard
I've heard of girl lunch.
You've been on TikTok.
Dude.
The girl math?
Dude, I gave up on, during COVID, I volunteered to help a friend of mine.
Sure.
Because him and his wife needed to just get away from the kids because they had to go to school at home.
Send Uncle Gary in.
And so
you babysat?
I learned. I'm babysat.
That's awesome.
A lot of people trust me with their kids. I did the new math. And of course, I have no idea what the new math is. And
I don't even know what the old
I was doing the old math the right way.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, this is how you're supposed to do it. And I'm like, no, 7 times 7 is 49. Well, you're supposed to show your work, and this is how, no, you're doing it the wrong way. And so I learned what new math was. So what is girl math?
So girl math is like, let's say you go to
This is Matt McMaster
Target,
speaking, by the way.
and you buy a blouse for $80, right? And the blouse is too small. So you have to go back to Target and you have to return the blouse, and you get an $80 store credit. Well, essentially, for girl math, you have $80 free. Like what you bought with the money that you got back, that was free. Like I got this for free. Even though you paid $80 to get that credit, girl math says, no, that's free money because I got it back.
You just got 80 free bucks
on
from
a
Target.
credit. Exactly. That's girl math, right? Boy math is you just do that, but you do that with sports. So boy math says there's 49 days until college football. But I'm telling you, if I wait 29 days, there'll only be 20 days left until college football. And so that'll be more fun.
We're on for the first time since yesterday.
Yep.
I think I'm more confused than I was when the show started.
Speaking about you babysitting, I offered
Hold on. No. I don't understand the logic.
This is, by the way, I want you to know that this was a trend on TikTok. That girls,
how
did I miss this?
Girls explained.
By the way, Hot
girl
Tua,
math.
top 100
We're
creator.
back. All right.
Girls explained. Really, she's top 100 creator.
Why not?
What did she create other than a potential scheme that got her arrested?
Very engaging podcast,
entertainment,
and a meme forever.
Bang. So there was a trend on TikTok where girls explained girl math to their fathers. And like you, all of their fathers are like, I am not following how this works out because you
I understand the girl
$80.
math. The boy math, I don't get.
I'm going to be happier. I'm going to be happier when we are only 20 days away from college football. When we're only 20 days away from college football, I'm going to say, oh my God, we are only 20 days away. Like we are 19
less than 3 weeks
away. We are right there. I'm sniffing it. I'm licking it. I could see it. I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm 29 days away from seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. That's
Okay.
how I'm saying it. So we're really only 29 days away.
I'm just
from
going to
college
say
football.
that 7
Oh,
weeks
you just
from
got me.
today, it'll be the Fighting Runzas against the Fighting Skyline Chili's in
Skyline
Arrowhead
Chili
Stadium,
sucks.
where barbecue will be on the plate. So there
Um,
you go. There is boy, girl, food math.
Happer will take Matt for barbecue.
Back to you, by the way. Babysitting. I
Yeah.
offered somebody at our station. I was like, "Hey, you have a coupon? I can babysit for you if you ever need me to babysit for
Like
you."
here?
Yeah. And they were like, "No."
Trying to think how many.
Connor's a
people here.
smart man.
Yeah.
I would
No
not.
kidding.
I would not let his
It was
daughter.
not. It was not Connor Happer.
In this on the 1620.
Yes. They
Hey.
weren't like
Oh,
no,
oh,
but they were
hey.
like,
Mine's not here
okay.
yet.
They were
Hey,
like, okay.
Josh and Amy are smart people. Yeah.
I offered
Hey.
it. I was like, I will babysit.
Yeah.
I will babysit your kid. And like whenever you need it. And Josh was like very laughy, like, haha, like, okay. I'm like,
Yeah.
I will. I'd be
Yeah,
a
and
great
his-
babysitter.
His wife is like, you know what? We don't really need a date night.
I'm going
The
to-
the thing of the story here is actually would be the child babysitting Matt. That's what
No.
Josh told me.
No.
He
It's
said
the
Robbie
same kid,
Robbie
the same
would
kid that beat you up
Mhm.
during the
Yes.
college.
Oh yeah,
yes,
he
yes.
said he would be watching you.
What do you mean beat me up? I was very much an older brother to
Word on the street was
Robin.
he was like
he
went
wailing on.
he went like a Marvin Hagler on you. Just a
He
combo.
looked like that former NHL dude who beat up that dude on the golf course on Twitter.
When you're drunk and you're fighting on a golf course, never give up. Just never give up.
Keep shooting.
I don't care if you just get your ass kicked.
Keep throwing the ball down the field.
Hey, you have no ceiling. You just keep flailing away, regardless if you get thrown in the lake or just beat to a pulp. And also don't mess with like a guy that has been in the NHL as an enforcer.
I was impressed with how he
Shout out
kept
Sandy McCarthy.
going at him. He got ragdolled.
You ever seen a person that is drunk that gets into a fight?
Yeah, but typically they end up unconscious on the bar floor, and I've only seen that twice. I've never seen them just keep popping back
I've seen
up.
quite a
and
few
keep
people that are
going at
drunk,
'em.
like from afar, like they just keep going at it. They're not
Down by 30. They're still chucking
Yeah.
threes.
They're not smart enough to say, you know what, I'm good here today.
I just can't believe he got his ass beat that bad, and he just
hockey
did
player or
not.
you?
No.
They were on the golf course.
This guy,
It's
and
it's all over
he
the
literally
interwebs.
he literally got tossed into a lake, and he kept running at a dude who was way bigger than him, way stronger than him. And then the commentary of the NHL, bang, bang, bang. It was incredible. You thought he was Mike Breen in a New York Knicks NBA Finals game.
The other guy was Tanner Boyle, charging at guys 3 times.
I gotta find this
bigger
guy's
than him.
name who did it.
I've seen a good fight in person in a while. Like all the
Hmm.
good fights end up
Hmm.
on like the TikTok or the X.
I sense
Like
a
there was
marketing
a
opportunity.
pretty good chick fight that showed up on the interwebs about a week ago. That was down in
Yes.
Frisco, Texas.
Did you see the one
That was
in
a
a college
Donnybrook.
town where there was
It was also like a lot of perverts were watching that video.
Can you blame them?
a dude
I'm not going to speak for perverts.
a dude
Just
threw
a personal preference.
threw a Randy Savage elbow in a college fight where he got up on the booth and he literally did the 2 hands up. He knew what he was doing and he threw an elbow. That was incredible. We are getting more pizzazz in fights now, and I'm a big fan of it. Like people are now understanding there's an entertainment aspect to when you fight somebody, and I am all here for it. Fight videos and people falling down.
You
Those
would
are
have loved
2
my
favorite
high school.
videos.
A lot of fights in your high school?
Oh yeah, it was a damn Pistons Celtics playoff game most days. We actually would start taking bets. Hey, I got a Coca-Cola here on this girl.
Was it cat fights or was it like
It was everything you could want, man. It was like a complete ass kicking
See-
sometimes between two. I mean, they wouldn't always break it up.
we missed out on that?
That was back in the day.
We didn't have time. We had to get
Hey.
to class. This big campus.
See the big problem with my generation. If you have a problem with my generation, our problem is they didn't allow us to fight. If they let us fight more, I feel like we would have been better off.
90s was a different time.
Well, you were also in an all boys school.
Well, I'm not just
You would
talking.
ruffle your collared shirts
Mhm.
and your khakis.
I'm not talking about me specifically
Oh.
at my school. I'm just talking about my generation in general.
Yeah, a little
they
frowned
let us-
upon.
If they let us fisticuffs a little bit more, if they let us throw down, from time to time, I feel like we would be tougher, more hardworking. Other generations.
Well, you'd have
wouldn't
conflicts settled and you'd move on. You might have more friends
Exactly.
because you'd be like, we got in a fight.
When
Now
I
we're
was
friends.
when I was high school, they just let us police ourselves. We didn't need an Urbandale police officer
There you go.
at school every day. They said, "You guys take care of it."
All right.
They trusted you implicitly.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Because
when
it was
you-
over when you guys
Yeah.
took care of it.
Hey, when you grew up in Urbandale, man, that's some rough streets.
Puts the
I
urban.
mean, everything ain't cobble. All right. Some of it's gravel. You learn how to take care of yourself. So we're 7 weeks away where people will die on their regional food hill. Is Runza better than Skyline Chili? That's probably the popular one around here. Like if you were going to have a regional fair,
Give me a
but
burger
you
and
would-
frings.
you would die on a hill of protecting the Runza against somebody from Cincinnati that says, you know what? Let me tell you about this non-traditional soupy chili.
Nope.
It doesn't look like the chili that you guys have with, what do? You pour it over cinnamon rolls out there in Nebraska?
Wouldn't
Well,
feed it to
here
my
in
dog.
Cincinnati, we have locations, and it's Skyline Chili. And I'm here to tell you, you know what? I don't eat chili that is basically water. Okay, a soup. Your chili is a soup in Cincinnati. Runza greater than Cincinnati. I believe now the line is up to 7.5.
4-game sweep.
I don't mean to try and start an argument or push back against you just to push back against you. But
Texas
I
chili
really
better
do
than
think
Skyline
that I
chili.
would like Skyline chili a lot.
Because it's soupy?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really soupy.
'Cause-
And you know what? They don't know what they're doing. They bury it with cheese on top.
Put it on spaghetti.
But that sounds. I like soupy things.
I
I
think he
like
would
soup
like
in
it.
general. I like my rice and beans. If you have like a more soupy beans, like a more water bait, like a pote with the beans, I'm a fan of that. I feel like I would love Skyline chili. Now, when we're doing Runza versus Skyline chili, are we doing the traditional Runza, like the actual product,
like a cheese Runza
versus the chili?
Not just a regular.
Regular?
Runza. You got to go to the OG.
Okay.
I think they might have us.
Regular and frings. Oh,
Not a chance.
yeah.
I don't.
Not a chance.
I think chili's great.
Wait till you.
Chili
wait-
is great, just
Yeah.
not in Cincinnati. It's terrible.
great.
Is it
Skyline-
really that much different?
Come home with
yeah.
me.
They don't give you
Like the meat.
They don't
Like
give you a spoon. They give you a straw.
That's not true.
Yes.
Yeah, it
That
is.
can't be-
Yes. Who
Very
day?
soupy.
That can't be true. That
Who
they
day
give
say
you
going to beat the
straw.
Bengals? Probably the Chiefs.
And I've had it a few times. They used to. They had 2 locations in where I lived in Florida.
Are they? Wait, their Skyline Chill is a national brand, or is it no longer national?
Transplants.
It is Ohio, Indiana. I think they're in Michigan, and then because one of the founders has connection to Florida, they would open in Florida, and then I think they're in Arizona because they had places where the Cincinnati Reds or the had spring training.
See, if we were just doing like a burger, like I can take a burger and fries, mushroom Swiss burger in particular.
You can get that anywhere.
I would. But
It is
like-
good at Runza, though.
You can't roll
But
into
Runza- but Runza-
WKRP Studios and get a Runza.
But Runza is like the Runza burgers are incredible. Like
Yeah.
the Runza
Yeah.
burgers
Oh,
are
yeah.
really, really good. I would take that over
They're
Skyline
20 and
Chili
10 every night.
4.
But nobody
It's just-
nobody says, "Hey, hey, tell me about this Runza," and you don't go, "Well, it's a hamburger."
No, I would tell you that. Look, if
It's a
you
Nebraska
eat a
hand
Runza, it's
warmer.
going to taste absolutely
Yeah.
incredible, and you're going to really, really enjoy it. It's going to sit in your stomach, and you're going to know it's there for the rest of the day.
I don't know. If
Mr.
that's
Negativity.
I don't know if that's a ringing
Yeah.
endorsement.
I
The hamburgers are pretty good.
the hamburgers are
I
incredible.
don't think that's a ringing endorsement.
I'm
That's what you said when we had the Italian that
I've
day
always-
that Gary was out, and I was like, "Oh, this is
I've always
delicious,
said-
thank you." And you're like, "It just sits in your stomach."
It does sit in your stomach a little bit longer. Than
We'd
you
like to
would
thank
prefer it to
Runza
sit
for
in your
this.
stomach. No, it's there. It's a great product. It's a tasty product. It's just I have a weak stomach. You both know that I have to take acid reflux pills every single day. For me, in particularly, it kind of sits there. Same thing with Arby's. Arby's does the same thing. I love Arby's to death. Sits in your stomach. They
Joe-
like Skyline
Joe
Chili.
buying Arby's again yesterday. Shocking. No one was in the drive-through.
You got to take out a loan to eat there.
Very
Really?
overrated place.
Oh, it's not overrated.
Overrated.
It is not overrated.
Highly overrated.
You get a classic roast beef sandwich with extra Arby's sauce. You cut that sucker in half. Takes you about 4 bites, both sides. It's incredible. It sits in your stomach for a little bit.
I'm sure the people that work there love it, but
You get your
I'd rather have customers. I never see customers at an Arby's.
curly
You just
fries
told me
at
there's no
Arby's are
line.
incredible.
Yeah,
Can't
they
beat
had
that
they
either.
had that market, and then other people started the curly fries.
Who's on curly fries?
A lot of places have tried the curly
Mhm.
fry.
I like the
Yeah.
waffle fry over at Chick-fil-A. They have that market, and they will keep that market forever.
They
I
will.
don't think anybody's messing with
Burger
that anytime
Detour, I
soon.
think, has
All right.
both.
Speaking of food, is that place still open?
They
Out on
opened one
Maple?
out by me.
Well, it's out on a Maple. Is that still open?
I think so.
The Burger Theory.
No, that place will never close, despite nobody ever going there.
I
don't know
Talk
how
about
to-
a place that's a ghost town.
I mean, the only people that probably go to that are the people that stay at those hotels that are right next door. I never see anybody going in and out of there. Nobody says, "Hey," Sarah Baker Hansen doesn't come on the radio and go, "You guys, There's this really cool place. If you're going to the College World Series, there's a place called Burger Theory.
I don't think they're making like a flambe cognac,
That actually would be a great
burger to eat.
April Fool's bit. Sarah Baker Hansen just giving us the most generic places, like a Scottish
That
place
would
called
be-
McDonald's. They
that
have
would
these
be-
things, pommes frites.
Oh, huge day at McDonald's. We'll continue the food discussion because Sarah Baker Hansen will join us coming up at 8 o'clock. Also, Steve Sipple stops by.
Hey!
We get Sip in 49 days from the start of the season. And then Brian Edwards is by. That is the lineup brought to you by the rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard. All right, so day 2 of talking season yesterday in Frisco. I like Deion Sanders. Coach Prime, not so much. I like Deion Sanders. We got a lot more Deion Sanders yesterday. So now we take a couple of days off. SEC media days are next week.
In the bullpen.
Big Ten media days are in a couple of weeks.
They're up and moving.
So there are the check marks of the off-season content.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're going to get the Barry Trammell. Nebraska and Oklahoma should go back to the Big 12.
Yeah,
I think we're
around here.
I think
Really?
we're past that.
Damn.
Okay.
That's
but
a tradition.
What we get, a tradition like none other. Joel Klatt. So Joel Klatt.
Love our guy.
Ooh, I think
love our
I
guy.
don't think he's as popular as he used to be around here.
Really.
He loves him
Yeah.
some Matt Rule,
He's-
but I don't know about
he's been
GBR.
putting us on every damn list.
Well, because he's very smart. You know that if you mention Nebraska, people are going to get a click. Okay, and they're going to
That's a
listen
good
to it
point.
because your name is Joel Klatt. And I personally like Joel. He's always been good anytime we've had him on
Great
for
dude.
the show. So 49 days from the season, Joel Klatt does his top 10 list of teams that could make the playoff for the first time.
Yep.
He goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then
That son of
he
a gun.
goes 10. And it's Nebraska.
Oh.
But here's the one where I was like, okay. I listened to his reasoning, and there's a lot of valid stuff, and I noticed I was nodding my head. Okay, we're getting to the end of about a 2.5 minute video.
Sure.
Taking your notes.
He's saying all the right things that I'm going, okay, yeah, I can see that. Then we start throwing out numbers, and we get to 7-1 going into November when the season starts. And I'm like, okay, I could see that. And then he gets to the end, speculating a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and he says, Nebraska could be 10-2. And I'm like, okay, not going to do it.
No.
Not going to do it. You know
Okay,
what?
sucked in.
I'm not on the group think. I think independently. But then I was like, okay, no, I'm not going to do it. So that if you had that waiting for the offseason, Joel Klatt thinks Nebraska could be 10-2, and there is a little bit where you go, it could he could be right. 7-1.
I tried to think that Matt talked me out of it.
7-1 going into November. Okay, all right. I don't want to do it, but God, it does seem possible.
This sounds like me talking to my friends about that really pretty girl I keep talking to at the bar every time I go there. I'm like, she's way out of my league,
She's
and
serving
I'm
you
way in
drinks.
over my head, but she keeps talking to me. She keeps laughing at my jokes. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but we gotta.
You're in the game.
We're there.
You're down by
We're flirting
17.
with
You're
it.
there.
I mean, I think it's pretty on par, in my opinion, with what we've said about this team. When you look at the schedule,
Well, I think
and, like-
I think we've now morphed into okay. They're going to go over this year, so they're going to win more than 7.5.
I've
and then
morphed into that.
and then College World Series time was like, ooh, 9 is attainable. Now we're in July.
I love this
Because
place.
we're 7 weeks from the season, now we are to 10,
Isn't it?
and I've been like John Candy, okay. I've been like, but we're like,
Are you taking the
hey,
bait?
hey, put the diesel in the train or whatever the hell
Wow.
a train has today.
a coal. I'm pretty sure. Is
Is it
still
coal?
Are we still cutting
Coal.
up coal for trains?
I don't know. I just know
Coal.
the diesel is John
Hey,
Riggins.
coal is in, wind is out. So we've reached the point where if a national football guy, because Josh Pate the other day, I don't think he set a record, but
Okay.
he's like,
He likes it.
I don't know. Are they feeding us?
So
Are they feeding us, or are we like, you know what? I'm not going to Jim Jones myself this year, but it's out there.
the process.
It's out there.
The process that you talk about
Great
is incredible
reference.
to see people go through because typically, right, we might feel that way after spring.
Like we are here.
Because the head coach is saying, man, I love this team, and man, I love this player, and man, I love this player, and you should see the work that he's doing and this and that. And you're
He's
like,
transformed his body.
Like by the end of spring, you're already at like, we could go 9-3. We should be 10-2. Like, this is a thing that we can do. But Matt Rule, Nebraska, didn't really do that this year. So we have had to allow other people to bring that thinking into our lives. And we've had to convince ourselves that could happen. And so the process of like, all right, we're 7-5. Now we're 8-4. Now you're like, oh, I'm reading these magazines and Maryland isn't going to be that good.
Maybe I'm
Minnesota
wrong.
Could take a step back. And, are we sure Iowa can be that good without Caleb Johnson? I mean, I know Mark Gronowski is really good, but they're only returning 650 receiving yards from last year's roster to this year's roster. That's when you start thinking.
That's a lot at Iowa.
You start convincing yourself that it's going to happen. I'm going to stand very pat and say this team will go 8-4. Oh. They'll win 8 games. They'll do something that they haven't done in the past. Okay, like they'll win one of those games they haven't won in the last 15 years. But the whole 10-2, they just have to do so much that they haven't done before.
Just score more points.
Well,
what about just play their schedule?
If they play their schedule to go 10-2,
kick the other team's ass.
But that's been the problem.
Okay.
That's been the issue. They haven't been able to play the schedule.
But you know what? I'm over the past. Okay, we spend too much time on the past. Very guilty of that. Not all the time, but very guilty of that. I'm ready for the new. If the new is going to be the new, or if it's going to be the old, and I'm ready to kick out the old. I would like some new. I would like it to be different. Now, I'm not saying 10-2. Joe Platt's saying 10-2.
Okay.
I'm not saying
for
10-2.
a second.
But you know what? We are in full. We need some football.
Because you say 10-2, those message boards will melt down today. Because one thing is Joel Klatt, but when your guys are saying it,
and so I'm not. I mean, everybody's like in the 7, 8, 9 range. Some very optimistic people will be like, they're going to go 6-6. I'm not ready to say because I have to see one thing when they start to put pads on in August, because there's something very curious that I would like to see, and then I will kind of start to form. But I think one of the things that we don't talk enough about, like it's great to have a returning quarterback.
Yeah,
it's great to have some production here and there. There's just big losses on defense. There's guys that are still walking around with name tags going, Mark, Vince, yeah. And Joel Klatt kind of touched on this, because I think this is a thing, because this is a rule thing of what do you do on Saturday when it's nut cutting time and you get squeezed a little bit?
Yeah.
Do you forget about the clock? Do you forget about game situation? Will you be helped by a veteran OC? Will you be helped by Phil Snow? How is that all going to work? Continuity for the good and the bad. Continuity for headsets. Like Nebraska's probably going to benefit greatly that Donovan Raiola is in his 4th year.
Yeah.
But if you look around the rest of the staff, and I don't care if they've been in the business for a long time, like Holgerson, or in a shorter time, like a really good wide receiver coach, they haven't worked together on Saturdays.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal that I'm not saying that as a negative, because I like the makeup of this staff.
But you see it first.
But you do have to factor in the continuity of Saturday when things get squeezed, and all of a sudden there's a lot of voices on headsets, or their voices when there's a sense of urgency and you're down by 6 and you're going into the 4th quarter about things you're telling you guys on the sidelines or plays you're calling or all that kind of stuff. So everybody working together, probably we haven't got as much into it of what that looks like when you get to Saturday, because it'll be new for everybody.
That'll be
because it was trust me, that was an issue last year on defense.
Well, that was something too that if you were to just watch Matt Rule on the sidelines, you would often see him not be afraid at all to raise his voice or to yell or to be intense toward his coaches in terms of how they're talking to the players, what they're doing, how they're like, what the process of the game and what they're going through. And I think that responsibility, though, we talk about, Matt Rule does a great job on Monday through Friday, and he's brought in a lot of guys who are going to do great for him on Saturday. But that is his Saturday job, essentially, right? Make sure that everything is on track. Make sure that you are a well-oiled machine. Make sure that you are actually operating at a level. I don't think Matt Rule will do too much like, hey, let's run this play or hey, let's run this play. But he's got to make sure that everything is kind of like on the track and that's going. And so that's essentially going to be his Saturday job. But I think with this staff more than anything is they just have so much experience and all those guys have dealt with so many people and have so many years of doing those things that I think that they can work through it, hopefully. And if they do have a problem, they could just be like, all right, it doesn't matter that I may be upset with this or this isn't going the way that needs to go. We just need to get a win. We just need to do whatever we possibly can to win this football game. And just not let personalities or let those things get in the way of that.
All right. Well, we'll talk more about this. Not necessarily about going 10-2 because we got 49 days to talk about going 10-2. No, I mean he lays out the roadmap, and you go,
"What do you say? 1-0 yesterday every week."
I mean, it's a little different when someone else
doesn't start until November. I got 4 games. I got 4 games.
So then you don't have 49 days.
I'm
you have more.
Yeah,
they're going to have a minimum of 5 wins before November 1 against USC.
What if they don't though? Because
then they'll have less.
Because you
more.
Talk about
November will still matter because then they might have to scramble to get into a bowl game.
No, I mean more than that. I don't think less than that.
They could be 7-1, and then you are. Let's figure out a way to get 3 out of the 4 and go to the playoff.
You can't convince
and
me
make Joel Klatt very happy.
That 66% of the season doesn't matter.
I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but the month of November is gigantic.
Wake me up when October ends. Gary Sharp's ballad.
Don't, because then football season will be almost over.
Now, this is a stupid question.
Respect on Green Day's song, please.
This is a dumb question, but we're in July. If they were to go 8-0, and then they end up going 0-4 to end the season, successful or not?
I would say Nebraska needs to hire another head coach that just coaches November because they got a really good guy in September and October, but they have a guy that doesn't know how to win in November. So they're going to do a co-head coach. Rule's going to take time off. Once you get to Halloween, he's going to go trick-or-treating and never come back.
And here comes Urban Meyer, baby.
And then a guy's going to come into November.
Nick Saban just comes in for November to throw the ninth.
The reality is that's a valid question or valid
they actually could go 8-0.
The current guy is 1-7 in November, and he's not alone. It might be a Nebraska thing. Maybe Nebraskans don't perform well in November. Let me see: December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July.
I'm listening.
Yeah, how many July births do we have?
No.
August.
How many births do we have in August? Maybe Nebraskans don't perform well in November. It's starting to get cold before it gets really cold. And you got a lot of stuff going on in November.
Holiday planning.
Because basketball season is starting, so you gotta balance both.
Crossover.
And so you don't know how to handle it. Maybe Nebraskans just don't perform in November.
Jimmy, can we do some research here?
But
I'm thinking
in September and October,
the birth rates in August.
Boom.
I'll let you know in a few weeks.
One final comment.
That actually turns out perfectly. We do have people who do perform in November.
Well, actually, it was performed in October, but if we're getting technical,
please don't.
We just did.
Hey,
we already did.
Hey, keep that.
We already went there.
Hey, keep that to yourself. All right, Jim.
Well, you could babysit.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not really into babysitting like infants.
Okay.
I want them to be able to walk and talk.
Okay. We'll come back in a few years.
You want to have a convo with them?
No, I get that. Yeah.
You sitting down with the kids that you babysit, and you're like, what do you think?
I
about
actually
Joel
would
Klatt
love
saying
to listen
Nebraska's
to
gonna win
a
10 games.
Hey, you don't think that I've looked into adopting a Sudanese 6'7", 6'11" kid
Smart.
to bring him to Omaha?
Smart.
Hey, honey, Uncle Gary babysat you. What did you learn from Uncle Gary?
Take the under.
I learned to do yourself before you do others. That's what he told me to do.
Give a lot of life advice.
Yeah. Preschool. I'll come back to you, Gary. That's great. I'd love to listen to a conversation between you two.
I'm good.
You don't think I'd be a good babysitter?
No, yeah, I know, but I'm just saying he has experience. You're going to have to be on a probation period.
I would be an incredible babysitter. Do mini golf around the house.
Jim writes
eat ice cream
about Skyline Chili because 7 weeks from today, the Runzas against the Skyline Chiliers.
Has a nice ring to it.
And the winner gets a platter of barbecue. Come on, Battle.
Rib Bowl.
Come on, Battle. I know you're sponsoring it. That'd be a great idea. Jim says, I flew home from Cincinnati last night. Reds ended the Marlins road winning streak. Maybe that's where he was at.
Tito.
Among many meetings there was Skyline.
I don't tell them this, but their food sucks.
Okay.
In my line of work, there accounts for selling and accounts for eating. Smart. Smart.
You brought up
their branding is in the city of Cincinnati, like community stuff.
They're good at what they do.
They're really, really good. But I agree with Jim.
You brought up barbecue. I was at Tiburon yesterday, and in our little after golf round dinner, I used a Gary Sharp topic at the table. I asked him, I go, is there a difference between barbecuing and a cookout?
Ooh.
And when I tell you that the table got flipped sideways,
Good for you, Matt.
20 minutes,
Yeah,
arguing about whether or not is there a difference between barbecuing and cooking out. It was incredible. I did not know that this was something that people got so upset about, but it was basically a 4 versus 1. And this one guy, his name's Corey, he would not give up that there is a difference between barbecue and cooking out. It was awesome. So thank you for your contribution.
Thank you, Corey, for standing on principle.
Corey would not let it go.
Corey's a smart guy. What's Corey do for a living?
I think he works at the Mutual of Omaha.
he's smart.
That's smart.
Like everybody else. Oh, the dogs are out right now.
Rock.
Why do you have a
Wow.
tag in your shoe?
It's from another pair of shoes. I don't know. I didn't.
Weren't you the one who was shaming Happer yesterday for taking his shoes off?
Well, I had to take my
during the
shoe off
show?
because I have.
What is
Why are you holding it now? That's a disgusting piece of paper.
I'm not smelling it.
He's
I know,
showing
but
it.
that was in your shoe, your foot sweat.
Well, you know what? I don't sweat. My feet don't sweat, and I showered.
Your feet don't sweat
No, I don't sweat
in general.
unless I'm working out.
That's true. Judging by the temperature you keep your place in the summer, you are
don't sweat.
wired. Yeah. And living
Do
in
you have,
Florida.
like, a gland thing, or
No.
is it just you just don't?
No.
Good for you.
No.
That's incredible.
No, I'm like Superman.
I'm closer to Matt and the.
Is
All right.
that who also doesn't sweat?
I'm
Is
pretty
Superman?
sure. I'm pretty sure. I haven't seen the latest one. but
The
I'm pretty
Iceman
sure.
That's
didn't
coming out
sweat.
on
Yeah.
Friday. Apparently, it wasn't that good.
Oh, really?
All
That's
right,
what
thanks.
they're. A lot of the reviews have been negative. Rotten Tomatoes has rated it high, but a lot of the fans who've seen it on Twitter have not said so many good things.
Well, I guess it's has a political theme to it. That has been like the director said.
Oh.
Basically,
Gotcha.
jumped into the political discussion.
I mean,
I
Superman.
just want to go
is
to a
an
movie. I want to
immigrant.
go to a movie and watch Superman. I want to see Lois Lane.
She looks great in it.
Yeah.
I loved Amy Adams as Lois Lane.
To be honest, I haven't watched Superman probably since Gene Hackman was in Superman.
You didn't see any of the Henry Cavill Superman?
I've been
movies?
busy, man.
I haven't either.
What do you
I have
mean?
been.
You've seen every
The
other
Superman
movie.
story
You
is
are-
the same.
You are a very. It is not. It is not.
Does
the
he
same.
still work at the Daily Planet?
It is. Yes, he
Or does he run a blog
Okay,
site?
guys,
You can
but he's
only do
got
so many
different-
things.
That is not true.
Clark Kent for
Same
On 3.
story
You
over and over.
have
It's a good story.
Zod, you have Brainiac. Okay, you have Lex Luthor.
Richard
You
Pryor,
have
great
the
and
Justice League storyline. You have the Batman storyline. You have what does he do with Wonder Woman? There are comic books and with Superman and Joker are massive. Like they
Jokic?
are- no,
Oh, yes, let's
no,
go.
Not Nikola Jokic, the Joker, where they are like
Oh,
fighting against each other. There's so much to do with.
I take his
Superman.
brothers.
There's
Yeah.
like 8 different.
It would
heroes.
ruin because I was already a big fan of Superman. I know what he did. I don't need to see it. I don't need to see Titanic anymore. I know what happens.
But that is a
The ship
one-
sinks.
Okay, wait. Superman and Titanic are not the same. Titanic is a singular historical event.
Kate
where
Winslet
everybody
made
died.
Titanic.
Once Superman does one thing, he's done it all.
That
He
is
can't-
not true.
Superman
at
can't do
all.
anything
That is not how
else.
comic books work. They write different books about them. They write different stories. They make different characters.
But this is a movie we're talking about, right?
This Superman is different than any other Superman we've seen before. Lex
Right.
Luthor.
This is a different
has
movie.
Never been like the main villain against Superman before. And there's a new there's a new Green Lantern that they're debuting.
Wasn't Superman 1
Who's-
Lex Luthor the bad guy?
Lex Luthor is the bad guy. Yes.
Okay,
he's
yeah.
like
Gene Hackman.
one of Superman's greatest
Gene Hackman's great.
villains.
Rest in peace.
yeah.
One of his greatest
Rest in
rivals.
peace, Christopher Reeve.
I mean, to me, Superman doesn't exist anymore because Superman and Lex Luthor are both passed away.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. Hope you have a good time with the movie.
10 and 2.
I'm very excited for it.
You should. I've heard like people are okay with it. Like they just want to go have fun. We want to go to a movie and have fun, not think.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm
Just
a
go,
little
laugh,
worried.
have
There's
fun.
There's a lot of like influencers who have just crapped all over.
Yeah.
the movie.
Well, you know what? Introduce them to the 1978 classic. That's when life was better in 1978.
I've never seen any of
NBA
those
coaches
old
were
Superman,
bangers. the way
Gene
they did it.
Hackman.
You're running the triple option, running waggle passes. It was great.
Mhm.
All right. SBH coming up at 8. Steve Sipple stops by.
What's better, Superman or the triple option?
Triple option, not even close. Next question.
I don't know.
Oh.
One of them,
Mm,
one of them,
no.
it doesn't really
Hey.
exist anymore.
I
and
have
one
a
of them
run the
could
damn
stop
ball
us being
shirt and
bored.
hat. I don't have Superman anything.
Unless you're Navy.
You told
or
me I was
Army.
going to a game in Memorial Stadium, Nebraska, was going to predominantly run the triple option.
How would you feel?
I'd beg you to take
How
me.
would you feel if
I
they
would-
ran the triple option one time this year with Dylan?
No.
If
Uh-oh.
Dylan, oh my God, if
Oh.
Dylan pitched it out to Ja'Cory Barney on the sideline,
Yeah.
no, you wouldn't be fully husked about that.
I don't think the speed would be the same as I'm used to. Yeah.
That'd be more of a
It'd be
Harburg
A little bit
formation.
clunky.
Triple option light.
All right. It's Gary and Matt with Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Don't miss this week's Zone Deal.
This week's half-off deal is to Backlot Pizza and Kitchen. Get $50 in gift certificates for only $25. Backlot Pizza and Kitchen in Elkhorn is a must-visit for anyone craving a unique dining experience. Backlot Pizza and Kitchen, 204th and Q next to ACX Cinema 12+.
Zone deals go fast. 9 a.m. Friday, 1620thezone.com.
Hey neighbor, oh my gosh, is your energy bill sky high again? When is it going to end?
Not anymore. My old windows were so drafty it felt like I had one open all the time. So I upgraded to Champion Windows.
Champion Windows, are they really that good?
Whew, they're fantastic. Energy efficient, super durable, and backed by a lifetime guarantee. And right now, it's Champion's anniversary sale. They're celebrating over 72 years with 40% off new windows.
Wait, 40% off? That's a serious deal.
I know. I just went online and booked a free
One of the things I miss
Mhm.
not living in Lincoln full time,
Okay.
because this just came across my timeline, the Zoo Bar.
Oh, what about the Zoo Bar?
Have you been to the Zoo Bar?
Yes, I frequently.
It is Zoo
Animals?
Fest this weekend. Oh, you've been to the Zoo
Oh,
Bar?
I've
haven't
heard
you?
of
In
Zoo
Lincoln?
Fest. Yes.
I
Yes.
never did the Zoo Fest at Zoo Bar, unfortunately, but I did do the live karaoke every Thursday
Shocker.
at Zoo Bar with the live band.
Oh,
You get the live band behind you. You feel like a rock star.
I
You're
would go
playing
watch this.
Brandy or a Fine Girl. They got $2 old styles over there.
And you disgraced all the artists that have gone in there
That
and
is
performed
not
that are real.
Matt singing
True
Closer by
at
9 Inch
all.
Nails.
Yes.
Okay, I have done a great job singing. There's videos of me doing live karaoke at the Zoo
Where
Bar.
where would there be videos?
Email them, please, to Jimmy at
On my phone that have
1620thezone.com.
been sent to me that I will refuse and never let you.
Well, I
never
would
send
think
to
if
you.
you're pretty solid in your performance at the
Yeah.
Zoo Bar, which by the way is a banger of a place. It's great
Great
that
place.
it's been open for over 50 years because it's the 52nd annual Zoo Fest this weekend in Lincoln. You would be willing to share those. You would have them out there.
absolutely
They
not.
might be pinned somewhere.
Because there are just no, absolutely not.
Okay,
Because there are
well.
people who would just clown me, who would make fun of me, even despite the fact that it was a great performance.
I think if you
Brandy
released them, you would
wears a
be
braided
confident.
chain with
Yeah.
the finest, like
So
it's
they're
incredible.
So they're not very good.
They're very
Yeah.
good
But then why don't we release them?
because I
Release the
because I
tapes.
know people are going
Release the tapes.
release the list, man.
Yes.
Where's the list?
A list does not exist, and also this is not to be made fun of.
The tapes though, no, you will never
Okay, that doesn't seem like there's a lot of confidence in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't want to get
You
clowned.
got my hopes
okay,
up.
I like to avoid
You
getting
work here,
clowned.
you will anyway.
If you're confident about your ability to perform, why would you be afraid of being clowned? You could push back, or you'd say, you know what? I don't know what you're listening. You must be tone deaf because that was a great performance.
I get clowned enough naturally. I don't think I have to set myself up to do that. Okay, I don't think that's
Should be
the
used to
best plan of attack for me.
This is from a text that turns into an email.
Okay.
I believe this is Stan.
Oh, what that turns into? How does a text turn into?
I know
an
what you
email?
So I don't know how it is, but it's always from a number,
Oh,
and it
okay.
ends up in an email
Okay.
instead of a text. So I believe this is
Yes,
Stan.
Stan.
You got
I
to get
stand-
that checked out.
Stan says, wouldn't performing well in September and October mean good season prep, but performing horribly in November means they can't coach, adjust, and improve the team throughout the season? Sounds like all other teams progress, but we can't keep up. All other coaches figure us out. Yes. So here I am. I'm going to give you some nuggets. Matt Rule.
Yeah.
Previous 2 stops. Year number 3, right? This is the breakthrough year.
Mhm.
Both at Temple and Baylor in year number 3. He has gone 3-1 in the month of November. He went 1-3, 1-3 at Temple. He went 1-3, 2-2 at Baylor. He's gone 0-4 and 1-3 at Nebraska.
I think that we should do.
There you go.
We should do a.
There you go.
a
Death
week-
taxes. At least 5 wins before November begins.
We should do a week of shows.
Matt Rule's done it again.
Where-
Year number 3.
The whole week we pretend that Nebraska football ended with a different record. Okay, so on Monday we just do a show as if Nebraska football was 7-5, and
We
then Tuesday
do
we do
that.
a show as if they were 6-6. Then we do a show as if they were 8-4, 9-3, and then on Friday we pretend that they went 10-2, and we do a full show, just fully husked.
I think you're the
talking
only
about
one that knows how
college
to do
football
that.
Playoff.
Oh, Bishop too. Bishop's been around.
Oh, I've done an unbeaten season show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
Yeah, it's nice.
They don't lose.
It's nice.
it sounds incredible.
Yeah.
I don't.
Oh,
once,
no.
Once
This-
again, I've only
Yeah.
ever seen one of my teams win back-to-back seasons once
Yeah.
in my life.
He scored 70
They scored 40. That's what I would be saying.
before halftime.
it is Matthew that text to email. Because I sent the email because text because I'm not sure if it'll go through. So thank you, Matthew. I agree with you. That's why November. I mean, we'll all play along in September and October and we'll have some fun. We'll go trick or treating. Okay. We'll go to the pumpkin patch. We'll do all that kind of stuff. But then November, I'm putting on the pads.
That'd be great if during the year you go, Matt, what do you think about the game? And then I talk for 5 minutes. All right, great segment. Moving on. Then it's November 1st.
Shout out to Vallis.
Hey, you all are counting down 49 days to
Well, 29 days. We're 29 days away.
the 49 days to the start of the season. Don't confuse people.
We're 49 days away, but we're 29 days away from being 20 days away.
Well, we're 42 days away from
God,
any
there's
college
no
football.
hope. There is absolutely no hope. I try and every day find hope in America. And I think I do a good job of finding hope. because it's a great country, but then I'm pulled back in trying to figure out what the hell, Matthew, you are doing.
Are you telling me that you've lost faith in America being
You know
my
what?
co-host?
No, here's the thing.
That's true. You spend more time with his generation at
Here's the
school.
thing.
Seriously.
You know what? We're better when it's simple. We complicate things too much. When I say 49 days from today, we're playing football,
7
y'all.
weeks.
You say, well, in 29 days, we're only going to be 20.
Exactly. That's
Okay.
how it works.
Okay. That's complicated.
That's not complicated.
I have to
at
think
all.
too much.
It's very
Misleading.
simple. We are 29 days away from putting our hands on our head and saying, "Oh my God, we're so close." That's a great question for you.
So you
though.
won't say that
Have
in
you
7
lost?
weeks.
Have
No.
you
49
lost
days.
faith?
We're so close.
Jimmy's on my wavelength here. Jimmy knows exactly what I'm talking about.
I'm listening. I'm weighing both sides.
This is
here.
an honest question. Have you lost faith in the future of
Yes.
society by being my co-hosting with me for the last 8 months? Go.
All right. Sarah Baker Hansen's coming up at 8 o'clock. She agrees. Sip stops in at 9:15, and then Brian Edwards at 9:45. I answered the question
No, you didn't.
by not answering it.
You said that Sarah Baker Hansen's coming on. Then
She
you
is.
go, she agrees. With what?
Hey, Sarah, are we 49 days away from the opener, or are we 29 days away from being 20?
49.
That we
Gary.
are
What are you
both.
talking
Why
about?
don't you just say, like, hey, you know what? It's kind of cool. We are 40 days away from being 9 away.
That's a good point.
That's easier to do.
That's
but
that's
20
two
what do
hands,
you mean?
man. That's
29
less than
plus 20 is easy. That's an easy math.
so it's
40
49
plus
and
9 plus 9 equals 49.
20 plus 29 equals 49.
Really?
Yeah,
Wait, are you sure?
I'm positive.
Are you
Screw
sure?
you, Jimmy. How is there easier math? It's the same math equation. I didn't say we're 37 days away from being 12 days away. That'd be weird. That'd be way too ultra specific.
My brain hurts.
Here, I'll make it easy.
I have a journalism degree. I don't do math.
7 weeks from today. And we're 4 weeks away
There
from
you
being
go.
only 3
Thank
weeks
you.
away.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hour number 2 is
Thank
coming
you.
up next.
All right, Gary Matt on 1620 The Zone. Hello to all of our streamers that are up with us this morning. Keegan, Daniel, Corporate Dan, Terrence, Owen, Fong Wei, David, Debo, Kevin.
Nice.
Kevin always greets me with a nice little email. He said, hey, happy 4th of July. And I said, happy Independence Day.
Happy New Year.
Terrence says, Gary wants some strange this year.
What does that mean? Is that slang?
I don't know. I got to be careful here because that phrase means probably something different to me.
What does strange?
I'm just going to say I would like something that is not normal around here.
10 and 2.
I would like to have September, October, but most importantly November be happier go lucky. Right? I don't think maybe that's what he's talking about.
Husker football games in December. They go 10 and 2. They'll have them.
When you
if there's no if the games don't matter in November, you know what will matter is December. And the chatter about. I guess CBS Sports was wrong. They put out overnight their all 136 college football coaches in Division I and their hot seat rankings.
Yeah, can I?
Rule is safe and secure.
I have a problem with their hot seat
sound.
rankings. Why did they put it in alphabetical order? Like they put it in alphabetical order.
That's how you find it.
As opposed to like
that's how you find it. That's that. Thought the same thing a couple years ago.
Oh,
Zelda
really?
State would be last.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, I wanted to see who was the most safe and who was the least safe. Do you know who does it right? EA26 does it right when they rank who's on the hot seat, who might get fired, who's safe or anything like that. If the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers and Matthew McMaster, whether or not they're going to get ranked this week after their 6-1 start.
Nice.
We only lost to Syracuse on the road. It was a tough one.
Damn broadcast journalists.
I know. They suck.
Is Colorado football well, hold on. No, I have to phrase this different because yesterday, I like Deion. Coach Prime, I can do. But when Deion is just Deion, I think Deion is really good. But there was an interesting exchange yesterday. So you know that he's had some health issues and he has been away from the program.
Yes.
He's been recuperating
Hopefully doing
at
well.
his home in Dallas. And it was David Ubben, who really good, longtime college football writer, ESPN, and then to The Athletic, asked about his health. I thought it was a fair question. I thought it was a fair answer. Whatever is ailing Coach Sanders right now, he will, in due time, I imagine, let everybody know. But he did say that I'm going to be back on the job. But then he went a step further. He said, y'all be on that bull junk. So I'm really not going to tell you much. You know that. He went after The Athletic.
Probably raise their prices.
So, no, I don't think so.
No.
They just, the one thing The Athletic has done is they have fixed their login.
Ooh,
Okay.
that's true.
It's easier to log in. It used to be a pain in the butt. And you know what? For anybody that's listening to Mitch Sherman, I don't want to subscribe to the New York Times. Okay. So quit asking me. But The Athletic has gone through an interesting period here. You know, there's some college football programs that, you know, like Wisconsin lost their athletic writer. Some other places they don't have their writer. We're fortunate to have Mitch cover Nebraska. But, you know, The Athletic has kind of had to rearrange. And even more so, I was really bummed about this. Nate Taylor, who covers the Chiefs for The Athletic, announced yesterday that he was no longer with The Athletic. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But I still like their stuff. I like their college football stuff, their NFL and Major League Baseball. But Deion there must be a backstory between him and The Athletic that maybe one of their NFL writers said something about his son. Because I don't think, he wasn't really jokey Smurf. He was like, he tried to be like, hey, I'm going to be funny, but then I'm going to take a jab at The Athletic, which had a very interesting 2 days in Frisco, Texas, at the Big 12 Media Days.
I think, first off, if Deion operates on the basis of, if you say something critical about my son, I'm not going to talk about you, I don't think anybody is going to be able to talk to Deion this season because, Shador isn't necessarily in the best spotlight as of right now to be written about in a very positive way. I think this might have something to do with what happened with Scott Frost potentially. And I think that coaches
It's kind of like yesterday.
coaches talk to each other, coaches see what happens, coaches see how things are covered. And I think that Deion, who famously last year had a problem with somebody from CBS Sports in Colorado, might have looked at what happened to Scott Frost and the quotes that were, put out and the reaction that happened to it. He might have looked at that and said, you guys are you guys are clearly fishing for something, or you're looking for these big quotes, or you're looking for people to get all aroused or, go crazy over things that are being said from coaches. So I think that could potentially be a factor maybe, but let
me go back here.
Sure.
And by the way, you got to reset the clock.
Right.
We were
7:05.
We were almost 24 hours.
But I wasn't talking about Frost.
Nope,
I was talking about
mentioned his name.
You could have said the previous Matt Rule's predecessor,
Deion Sanders, and the publication.
But
that
something
wrote
you
about
said.
Frost.
So wasn't the day before the Athletic asked questions and they got a response and they printed that answer, right?
Yeah.
So how would that set off the head coach at Colorado?
I just think in general, when that situation with the former head coach of Nebraska blew up yesterday and the day before. And I think that Deion, who has been incredibly defensive when it comes to journalists and what they write about him, and his interview was reeked full of him just being defensive of the things that he's done in the past. I think that when a publication like that has a big story that is propped up by controversial quotes, that he is, he's on the defensive of okay, you might be fishing again, or they might be looking for a big quote from me, or they might be looking for something that's going to give them clicks. And so I'm going to just say, oh, y'all are in a bunch of bull junk or whatever like that. And he could be being like, I'm not going to try and play your game because people did.
So you
play
think
their
they
game.
baited
I don't
the
think
guy the day before into saying what he said?
I don't think they bait. I'm not claiming anything in terms of them baiting or not. I just think that when you have a story that blows up or have quotes that blows up from a certain publication from the day before, and you're a guy like Deion who is always on radar in terms of, hey, what is going on and what people are saying about me. I mean, Deion knows exactly what people are writing about him, who's writing about him, what they're trying to entail to the public. So I think he definitely could have that radar on in terms of the Athletic. Do I agree with his radar? Do I agree with him being defensive? Do I agree with him just saying to the Athletic, y'all are on a bunch of bull junk? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The guy
it was the question about the health. I don't know if there's a connection between that and the day before. I do know that the guy that was talking, whether it be on or off the record, has said that he'll never talk to the Athletic again. I don't know. Does Deion and Frost know each other very well?
I really don't know.
See, I think this is I think this is different because it was a question about his health.
Mm-hmm.
But there's, we've seen this. You were alluding to some of the guys that he is, like he iced out Sean Keeler.
Yeah.
Is how do you think Deion Sanders thinks that Colorado should be covered? This is a good question for every college football coach at Media Days. How do you think your program should be covered? Not how do you think it is being covered, but how do you think your program should be covered? That'd be a great question for Deion.
I think Deion wants the things that he does to be looked at as groundbreaking and not strange. Because if you go and you look at the quotes from later in the interview, he was talking about Joey McGuire in Texas Tech.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, when I was going to the portal, when I was getting all these guys, you guys were making fun of me, saying things about me. When Joey does it, oh, it's all great. Now, it's not necessarily this. It's not 1-1. We all know that. But I think that Deion does have a little animosity in terms of the fact that he thinks what he's doing is brand new and should be heralded and be like, oh my God, he's an innovator. Oh my God, he's changing the game. Oh my God, Deion Sanders has put the college football world on its axis. And yet we look at him and we go, what you're doing is weird. What you're doing is unsustainable. What, you've only been able to have the success because your son, or because you were able to convince Travis Hunter to go to Jackson State. And so I think Deion would like him to be covered as if he is this genius thinker that has changed the game. That's how I think he presents himself in terms of how he wants to cover. And I do think that Deion has done and said some things that have been different, that he's been maybe proven right.
He's always been different.
In a way.
He's always had a thing for the flair.
Yes.
I like when Deion Sanders talks. I am turned off by when Coach Prime, the act starts. That's because I think there's stuff, and I think unfortunately some of the really, really good stuff he says about young men and coaching young men and being a dad, I think gets lost because there is the persona of sometimes he will morph into Coach Prime. But going into year 3, and he had a lot of stuff he said yesterday. It was I liked his time that was made public at media days. Is the bottom line, they are one of the rare programs in college football that if they're not must-see, you're turning them off. And it was must-see the last 2 years at the beginning of the year because I wanted to watch Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders. So the last 2 years, I'll give you a comparison.
Sure.
Because if Colorado is not must-see football, you're done with Colorado. You're not paying attention to them. They're not a big enough brand where you're going to tune in every Saturday and watch Colorado play.
Sure. Yes. Totally agree with that. I think that we will always have a little bit of an eye. Like I think we'll always have like a radar in terms of what they're doing.
But you're not tuning in.
But I'm not tuning. You're
because
right.
Here's the thing.
You're right.
So the last 2 years, for comparison's sake, Nebraska has played 5 games in 2 years that have been in the top 50 of the 23 college football on TV. 2024. Colorado has played 9.
Wow.
But 7 of those 9 have been in the first 6 weeks of the season. So Colorado off the top of my head, I can't think of another program that's on this level that if they're not must-see TV, you are not watching.
Well,
and that's what Colorado, that's the goal this year is to maintain. But you're like, who are these guys? You brought 2 quarterbacks to Big 10 media or Big 12 media day. This is kind of interesting.
Very interesting. Now you say, I can't think of another program at the top of my head. I think the program that has Sanders as their coach.
Well, you might have that in North Carolina. You got 2 celebrity coaches.
But there is
we don't have a ton of celebrity coaches in college football.
There is a stark difference though between Deion and Bill, because Bill Belichick made his career off of being a coach. Deion Sanders made his living off of being an incredible football player and then has parlayed that into being a coach, right? But he's got Prime and, I'm going to ask for so much money, they're going to have to put me on layaway and the flair and the look good and the play good and all of that stuff. Nobody else has that. But to your point, this year, Colorado goes from being must-see to being an actual, I don't want to say actual, but to being a football program, to being a kind of run-of-the-mill, hey, you're Power 5, you're in the Big 12, you got to build your roster, you have to go ahead, you have to win games, you're judged on how many games you win, you judged on how competitive you are. Like the last 2 years, they haven't really been judged that way because it's been this, oh my God, it's so brand new and it's so different. And they have these superstars and we treated it as an attraction. Now we are treating them as everybody else. We are looking at their high school recruiting rankings. We're looking at their full-on recruiting rankings. We're questioning whether or not they have the guys up front and whether or not they have the quarterbacks and like they don't have that star power. So now they fall into the bin that everybody else has been in.
But they will always be, you have some places where the coach will always be greater than the program. You're attracted to the program because of the coach. That's at North Carolina. That's at Colorado. College football really has not had celebrity head coaches. They've had incredibly good head coaches, and maybe Saban became a celebrity head coach. But in terms of being like, wow, there goes Bill Belichick. There goes Deion. I mean, I've never seen the crowds at Memorial Stadium react to a head coach like they reacted to Deion when Deion came out to take his lap around the field, and there was a buzz. He came out with his assistant. He does his walk around the field, and he walked around the field. There was a buzz, and this was like an hour 10.
I saw the same thing a couple months later. Same thing.
He walked around the field, and remember, he dapped up Bud Crawford, and like, oh man, only guy I've ever seen that at Memorial Stadium as a coach, that he walks on the field and there's like immediate buzz. Now, there's some coaches walk on and, they get the ire, but nothing like, the celebrity guy in Boulder.
I think you can make the argument that there are very few people who have as much to gain this year as Deion Sanders does in college football. Because if Deion is successful this year and Colorado has a winning record and wins 7 games or wins 8 games again and goes to a bowl game without Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, you have to eliminate the, I think, skepticism that is consistently put around him and the program. Because I feel like there's always a caveat when it comes to how we look at Deion and how we judge Deion, right? But he had his son. But he had Travis Hunter. But, he's got great recruiting classes, but it's not sustainable. If he's able to go out this year and create a winning program once again, what are you going to say about him other than, no, he's a pretty damn good coach. Like, yeah, he knows what he's doing. Like, it doesn't matter that maybe people are doing it differently. Deion does it his way, and they've been able to churn out winning seasons consistently now at this point. Like, there are very few coaches who in one season could just fully sway, how and just completely change how we look at them as a coach.
I don't share your optimism about their season. I look at the back end of their schedule. I'm like, whoa.
I don't know if that is, if I don't share the optimism either. Honestly, I have them under 5.5. I don't think they're going to be over. But my point is that he's got an incredible opportunity to just completely change the way that people look at him as a coach.
All right. When we come back, something dawned on me yesterday when I saw a press release that I had to go, wow, somebody was really, really good in the game of football. Then we come back a little bit later. Steve Sipple will stop by. Also, Brian Edwards on 1620 The Zone. Hey, Moose Roofing, they do something all the time. They are the 5-star roofers in Omaha. In business for nearly 30 years, all the way from Western Iowa to Lincoln and in between. Pat Moose's incredible crew, they take care of you. Roofing, siding, gutters, commercial roofing, residential roofing, repair. They do it all, and they do it from the beginning to the end, where they get to know you, where they get on your roof, they assess everything. They take pictures, they take video, they sit down with you, what they're seeing, what you need, what is right for you. They work with your insurance company, which they are fully devoted to that. They have an entire department. That's all they do, take care of the insurance claims, because that can be a hassle. And the next thing you know is, why am I doing this? They take the hassle out for you when you need to figure out, why are my shingles in my front yard after the storm rolled through last night? Well, don't think anymore. Go to the MVPs of roofing to protect your most valuable asset, your home. Moose Roofing. Schedule an inspection today, and you'll see the difference on why they are number 1 in Omaha. For more information, go to the website, mooseroofing.com. All right, back in the day before you had early release, a lot of us would still be up playing the EA Sports college football game. It has been released.
I don't know.
I don't know if there's any. I did not hear or see any pictures of people waiting in line to get it at
just
midnight.
downloaded it.
Those days are done. They are done, unfortunately. I still have a GameStop rewards card.
Yeah.
And it's always great when I put in the number to find out that I have a bunch of like welcome back rewards that I could use to like, get an old PS3 game off. Because I don't go to GameStop to buy PS5 games. I go there to buy old PS3 games. Done are those days. It's so sad. It's so sad. Now
Gets worse.
GameStop is like, the little bobbleheads that they have.
Jesus.
Am I wrong?
What'd you say?
I said it gets worse.
No, it's going to get better. November will be here before you know it.
Oh,
I
that's
like
true.
Radio Shack too. I was a big Radio Shack fan before they all closed down. I enjoyed like walking
did
through
like
there
Radio
and seeing all the
Shack.
speakers
I liked
and
KB
the
toys.
headphones and whatnot and all the different toys that they had. Like I enjoyed that. And now they're all gone. I was never a Blockbuster guy though.
You don't like Blockbuster.
No,
It's
I
a
was a
good place.
Redbox guy though. We always go to the Redbox outside of the Jewel Osco and and click on one of the movies. But I do remember the days where you had to send a letter to Netflix. Do you remember that you would
You got DVDs in the
you
mail.
would get a list from Netflix,
Yes.
and then you would check off the boxes, and then you would send the list back, and then they would send you the CDs.
Mhm.
Those were the days too.
Make sure to
all
rewind the
gone.
tape before you return it back.
I don't think the early release. I don't think I'll ever buy another early release again. I don't think it was worth an extra $30 to play the game 2 days earlier or 3 days earlier. Like I just now that I'm a man with my own money, I don't think that. Like I look at $30, I'm like, oh, that's like 3 meals.
Shout out Warhorse.
No, we're saving up. We're going to Okoboji. That's an actual thing that's happening. It was scheduled yesterday.
How old were you when you were filling out the list on Netflix?
That's
had
what I
to
want to
have
know.
been
I was 25. We're
6 or 7 years old.
that would check out.
But
Yeah.
you know those memories, you have those just weird memories that always stay with you, just very random.
Yeah.
That is one of them.
Rod
Just filling
Strickland's
out-
So at
behind the
6
back
years
pass.
old, you were filling out a Netflix list?
Yes, but when my parents were, we were trying to pick the movies that we were going to watch together for the month, and we were going down, and I'm pretty sure
They got your opinion, which is nice of
I'm
them.
pretty sure Zac Efron's 17 again had just come out because I really wanted to get 17 again for whatever reason. I believe who played Chandler? What's his name?
Matthew Perry.
Matthew Perry.
Rest in
Matthew
peace.
Perry was in that movie too. It was a great movie, 17 again with Zac Efron. It was about reliving the glory days. The guy had the pod racer, as his bed. I've always wanted one of those.
Well, if you're playing, if you've not gotten it from the early release on Monday, have fun playing it today.
Mhm.
There'll be a lot of college football players
Run the damn
that'll
ball.
go. They'll do the workout and then they're right back in front of the TV playing games. I'm sure most college football programs have already purchased it.
Oh, you got
because Nebraska Athletic Department like giving away games.
really?
Mm-hmm.
Got to study up on Cincinnati.
Oh, it's like a no-brainer for EA Sports to give colleges access. I think everybody that is in the game gets a copy.
Okay,
Um,
that is.
and then athletic departments get like copies that they can do whatever they want with, either supply it for their gaming systems, like in their football lounges, or they give them away.
Do you
coaches
remember?
tournaments.
I think last year there were people complaining that the athletes weren't getting paid enough. They were only getting paid $500 and the copy of the game to get it. I don't know, man. $500 is a
So
college
$600
student.
value.
Holy crap,
Mhm.
that would carry me. That would carry me through a whole month,
That'd
probably a
carry
month
me
and a
right
half.
now.
I think five, like that's might have when I realized that NIL had potentially disconnected some college athletes to what it is to being a college student when they were complaining about getting $500. I'm like, guys, this is incredible. I mean, the amount of ramen noodles that I can get with this thing is absolute. I mean, you can get 18 Miller High Lifes for $10. I can get 50 cases of Miller High Lifes.
Well, there was a day when Eric Crouch had to pay back the NCAA $22.77 because he had a $4 sandwich a flight, and it was a clear violation. We live in a different times now. All right, a little bit later, Steve Sipple stops by. So yesterday, the Nebraska Football Hall of Fame class for 2025 was released, and it is not just Nebraska players. It includes veteran Bob Nelson, UNO linebacker Tom Sutko. They did a Legends. Isn't Johnny? Like they are doing a Hall of Fame legend, and Johnny Rogers is part of that. But the Nebraska contingent, so half of it is Nebraska. Bob Nelson, I think I mentioned that. Brett Maher.
Great.
Brett Maher. Okay, had a nice little foot.
Nice little foot.
Cowboy legend.
Brett Maher is awesome.
Now member of the Nebraska coaching staff. Darren Diedrich, the late Darren Diedrich.
Yeah, I liked him.
Interesting that he's on there. So they are doing it by eras. Running backs that played at Nebraska that are on this committee are very hard on other running backs. I don't know that there was a lot of love from former running backs for Darren Diedrich.
He ran for what, like 1,300 yards in his last season or 1,200 yards in his last season?
He quietly had a really not a bad career. He had a very, very solid career.
Gone way too soon.
But it wasn't like,
it wasn't overwhelmingly like he has to be
He played with a quarterback who you would rather have the ball in his hands than Darren Diedrich.
Sure.
Derek Brown is on this list. The Weebacks. Derek Brown is a great story. Really kind of disappeared from Nebraska. Maybe his choice. But him and Calvin Jones together, that was a good pairing. Derek Brown was a dude. And Derek Brown had a nice little NFL career. Derek Brown had a good football career from California because he had to sit out because he was a Prop 48 kid. I believe he was a he installed windows or something. Plumbing. He might have been a plumber. He was working a job while he was trying to get eligible academically.
Wow.
But he was living in Lincoln. Like, when Nebraska got him,
yeah,
it was like, whoa, this kid, this is like, all right, here we go, another banger at IBAC. But he eventually ended up sharing time with Calvin Jones. But good to see that D. Brown is going to be in. Tom Welter going to be in. And then Kenny Bell. Well, that's the Nebraska half of the Nebraska Football Hall of Fame class that will be honored before Houston Christian.
I think Kenny Bell statistically he deserves it. He had a really good career at Nebraska. I do think he falls in the weird era of Nebraska Football Hall of Fame where it's a lot of the other people who have been inducted into the Hall of Fame have like national championship pedigree and have been on, these top teams that were consistently competing at the top of the nation. And he wasn't, 2011, 2014, Nebraska wasn't nothing. Nebraska was still, they were still winning games at this point. They weren't in the era they are in now. But they definitely weren't at the upper echelon.
Well, let me pose it because this is the guy. And I don't have a problem with any of these guys that are on here. And when Kenny's name popped up, I thought, is Kenny Bell more popular post-career at Nebraska than when he was here? Now, his stats stand alone. He on the field, he had a robust career. No one is doubting that he should be in the Nebraska Football Hall of Fame. But the thing about Kenny Bell, and back then, it also had to do with the coach he was playing for. So Kenny kind of was the poster child for us against the world with Bo Pelini.
Sure.
And a lot of people were turned off by that because they liked Kenny. But Kenny became the first Nebraska football player that was a brand. Like Kenny established himself as a brand. He was very active on social media. He had the hair. He was flamboyant. He was a really, really good football player. But that rubbed people the wrong way, I thought, because it was the first time that somebody had been like that. Yeah. Like they were like, okay, are you bigger than program? Somebody also that was very active on social media. But he was doing all these really good things. Whether it be the block against Wisconsin, he had a big touchdown. Performing. He had a big touchdown against Iowa. But he was part of the us against the world. I will never forget one of the longest, probably until 7 weeks from today, longest Big Red Overreaction shows. The night game in East Lansing, when Nebraska comes back and wins.
Yeah.
And Kenny had a really rough first half. and people were crushing him on social media because Kenny put himself out there.
Mhm.
Kenny was, again, he was the first really Nebraska football player on social media that was out there.
Yeah.
Getting crushed. Well, Nebraska wins that game. We started Big Road Reaction like at 10:15. That is where one of my nicknames came from on that show, because we had a guy call in that was drunk out in the middle of his field. He was just hammering beers, but he was a farmer and he was out in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
So he called me Franklin. But the show went till about 1:30. But we were noticing, because that was like a big win for Nebraska.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Kenny Bell is favoriting all of these tweets that had crushed him in the first half because he was much better in the second half.
Uh-huh.
And we're like, whoa, they're either in the locker room or on the bus
Sure.
to the airport. So, boom, we got a hold of Kenny Bell. We have Kenny Bell on Big Red Overreaction.
Really?
Oh, he was like, let's keep receipts. But
That's awesome.
But then post-career, and Kenny has dabbled in the media.
Yeah.
He has always been heavily involved with Team Jack. So, and you see him, because I see him a lot on game days, because I think he's doing stuff. Is it Big Ten? It's not Big Ten Network, so to speak. It's something else, but he'll go into the tailgates and people are like, Kenny Bell. So I'm thinking, is Kenny Bell more popular post-career than he was here? Because he was kind of polarizing. He was flamboyant. He was, he was Bo's guy, and we didn't like Bo, and we didn't like people that were bigger in the program, and we didn't like what was the video they did in the spring, which was really, really funny. Harlem Shake. Like it was just kind of a really interesting, all-encompassing career. But if you stand back and you're like, oh man, I never was a big fan of Kenny Bell. Then you look at his stats and you're like, damn, that guy had a pretty good career in Nebraska.
Really good career. I think though Kenny Bell too has benefited,
like especially 14. 14 was his big year. He also might have been the last really, really good kickoff returner that Nebraska had.
I think Kenny Bell has benefited really well from Nebraska not being good the last 8 or 9 years.
What do you mean?
Because when you go through a stretch of being really bad as a program, you start remembering when you were good more fondly and the players who were good players more fondly.
I got you. I know what you mean.
And I think you look back and Kenny Bell at the time, you're like, all right, he's a really good wide receiver. He did some really good things and when Nebraska was winning. But now that Nebraska has gone in the stride of winning, you look back and you're like, man, I would kill for a Kenny Bell right now. I would kill for a wide receiver for 4 straight seasons to be highly productive and to do what he did on special teams and to be as dynamic as he did. It's like when you haven't seen it in a long time, you look back on it and you appreciate it way more. And I think he has benefited from it, but at the same time, he still was damn good. I've went back. I enjoy watching Kenny Bell highlights. I mean, he was incredibly shifty and incredibly smart and a really good route runner. Like he could do like he was good, but now that we've gone through the stretch and he's continued to build his brand, you're spot on with it. But I think just the drought of good football has made us appreciate a lot of those players back on those teams more.
Yeah, I think there will always be the us against the world really turned a lot of people off. And there were certain players that they were the poster child for that. And Kenny definitely was. So, but I'm glad to see he's in the Nebraska Football Hall of Fame because on the field, he very much deserves it. He's a good ambassador for Nebraska. I mean, I'm sure he riles people up out in Colorado. But I had to go back and I was like, I knew Kenny Bell was really good. I looked at his stats and I'm like, damn, 2014 was a great year. And so he's not just known as the guy that had the block, in the championship game. But man, can we get somebody that can return kicks like Kenny Bell used to return kickoffs?
He had 4 years of just being a really good player, of just really solid production, of just being reliable, being dependable. But I think that it's a weird situation because he is not heralded amongst the all-time greats, Hall of Famers, national champion Kenny Bell. Like he's not on that level, but I think the drought of what has gone on has made you appreciate him way more. And I think that it's a really
longevity helps as well.
Oh, that too, for sure.
Yeah, maybe you're a 4-year guy and you put up numbers like that. It's almost a no-brainer.
But you brought up something about telling the story about Kenny Bell that it sparked something in me. Talking about him being on social media, him being a brand. Is he bigger than the team? Him being out there, people questioning him. I wonder if we could go down the similar path with Dylan Raiola this season. That if Dylan doesn't play well because of how he's been in front of the camera and how he has been out and about and he has been building his brand, it seems like he's always everywhere, and that he is about, building himself up and putting himself on that stage. If we're going to get that again, if we will ask those questions, if we will kind of look at him in a similar way, because part of me thinks yes, because he's put himself on that stage, but part of me also pushes back and says that this is the era. Like, everybody is building their brand. Everybody is on social media. Everybody is trying to get ahead and put themselves in front of the limelight. And so I think it'll be incredibly interesting to see how we judge a player today when they do those things compared to how we judged them 10 years ago. I really think that it'll be 1-to-1. Like, we'll still get on guys if they are all over social media and they're all over building the brand and we think that they're bigger than the team. But I do think we have to take a step back and recognize that this is it's normal now. Like, what Dylan has done in a way is pretty standard in terms of guys trying to build their brand and to build their following. I don't think what Dylan has done
It's just we're around here.
Yeah.
Like, Kenny was the first. Kenny was absolutely the first guy to be active on social media and then also to respond to fans.
But that's awesome. I love that. But I think
He's
Dylan,
petty guy.
I love that. Dylan.
That's why I like it.
Well, I think a lot of guys in the Bo era that felt like Nebraska fans turned on him because they didn't like the head coach became really petty.
Was there anyone in between? Has there been anyone in between Kenny Bell and Dylan Raiola, in your opinion, that has done that, who has used social media a lot, who has tried to build a brand, who has tried to?
Not to that extent.
No. Like, I don't think in the last 5 years there hasn't really been anybody who's done that. But I think Dylan is groundbreaking in the way that he's the first guy who actively is getting a paycheck for it too.
Yeah, like the whole when NIL kicked in, like Kenny Bell was one of the first guys that we said would have done really well in the NIL era, when it was not pay for play, but it was name, image, likeness, because he knew how to play the game. I mean, he was a smart, and he's, he to this day he's an entrepreneur, so he's a smart business guy. A couple of dream. Cap says yes, Kenny Bell has the stats to be in the Nebraska Hall of Fame. Jimmy says also didn't have that great of a quarterback throwing the ball. Go back and look at those highlights of Taylor Martinez throwing deep to Kenny Bell or on slants or running the waggle. I need to bring back the waggle.
Is that the second time you've brought up the waggle?
Well, because I watched the Kenny Bell highlight yesterday of Taylor throwing him a touchdown and they ran a waggle. I loved it when Tommy ran it.
Make waggles great again?
Mm-hmm. Jimmy says Kenny Bell deserved way more success at Nebraska.
What does that mean? That he played too well
one
for
championship game.
Yeah, he played too well for them to not win more.
Well,
because there's a lot of.
I take it as he's saying he wished you had played on.
There's some players that their careers get elevated because the team won, but then you go, wait a minute,
sure.
And then there's some guys that get absolutely over. Zach Taylor, for example. Zach Taylor's big year at Nebraska probably doesn't get talked about enough. Now, they played in the Big 12 championship game, but they were not, hey, that's a 10-win team, and they didn't win that game.
You're like, oh, by the way, I forgot.
Vince asks about branding. I know the answer to this, but I'll let you respond. Does Dylan take a single digit, or is it not his brand? By the way, I think that tradition is done.
Really? I like
not done, but the idea of it was ruined by a guy that's not even here this year.
So they definitely, if you look back on the numbers and the guys who got the single digit numbers and then where we ended up at the end of the year, it did not work out in terms of who should have. And then you had Jamari Butler, by the way.
That's what I'm talking about.
Who was just like, I'm just going to give my number away. I'm just going to give it to Vincent Shavers.
He wanted his old number back, so he switched with Vincent Shavers after being voted by his teammates in August. When that happened, I'm like, I like the concept, but we're done.
Well,
to answer Vince's question.
Okay. So it would make me mad.
No.
It would really make me mad. It would really frustrate me
Yeah.
if he got voted to be a single digit and he said, "No, bro, I'm 15. I ain't switching." Because then that is the and
Be
I
number
know
one.
this
Be
is
Warren
an
Moon.
old man football thing, but like you can't. We have a tradition here. We have established a team tradition, a team culture. If we establish you as one of the leaders, you take a single digit. Okay. If we give you that honor that not a lot of people get, and you say, no, for me personally, it's better for me to wear 15, that's an indication that you're putting yourself over the team. Okay. And so I don't jive with that. I don't float with that. I don't float with getting a cultural honor within your team and saying, no, man, for me, if I'm going to, build my brand and make the most money and continue what I've been doing, I have to have this number. I'm not a fan of that. If that were to happen. And it would definitely kill the tradition. It would definitely kill it if that were to occur. I'm not saying it will. I'm not saying he's not going to take a single digit. I'm not saying he's not going to change his number if he's given that honor, but it would frustrate me if he was voted and he said, nah, man.
So there
for
was
me, I
one
need to wear
time
15."
in high school he did wear number 1.
I think that'd be dope. I think it'd be really cool if he wore number 1. I think number 1 is an awesome quarterback number.
Could you have 2 number 1s?
Hell yes.
Why not?
Because you're going to have the guy that's currently wearing number 1 would have a good shot to be voted by his teammate.
I would love a Shavers / Raiola, seeing jerseys like that.
This is what I'd rather have because its content is the quarterback does not get voted a single digit number. Discuss 402-951-1620.
I like the single digit number tradition. I think it's
They've
pretty cool.
They've done. Wait, they let
I think it's pretty dope.
They let a guy who wanted his old number back change.
When I saw that,
Bring back the area
at
codes on the helmet.
At the Pinstripe Bowl, when Shavers was wearing
that.
1, I was like, what are we
Bring
doing?
back winning.
Well,
Hey,
yes,
there
that
you go. There's
too.
good tradition.
That's a hot take.
There's so many things that are that's why the black shirt tradition is the greatest tradition around
You
because
can't mess with that.
it stays through all the ups and downs. I was fired up. We were going to see a lot of 402s on the front of helmets. They took it away. I was like, I like this idea of the single digit. That tells me we got leaders and it's significant and you know
Yes,
it. It's
exactly.
like Iowa State
Exactly.
giving the player of the week a different helmet. And you know that guy. And then a guy says, you know what, I want my own number back. There you go.
It is an awesome tradition. I can tell, that dude's a dude. It means you're a dude if you have a single digit.
I don't think enough people understand it, though, that don't follow Nebraska football, because what would be the question? Or maybe this would be good because you could tell the story. Whoa, why'd you give up 15, bro? Mahomes is still wearing 15.
No, because I want to be a leader for my team. Because I was honored enough that my teammates looked at me and said, you know what, Dylan, you're a great leader. And because you're a great leader, you get your pick of the lot when it comes to single digits. That's why I'm wearing a single digit. That's why I changed my number. I would like that. I would enjoy that.
What if his teammates didn't vote him because they know that he wants to be 15?
If they didn't vote him because he knows that he wants, that's fine. I'm okay with that. Can you imagine though if he was going around telling people, "Hey, don't vote me. Don't vote me. I want to keep my number. Don't vote me. I want to keep my number." July.
No, it's Kenny Bell. Gets people fired up. A little bit later, Steve Sipple stopped by. Sarah Baker Hansen will join us next week. We had to adjust around SBH's schedule, which we're so happy to do. Brian Edwards as well on 1620 The Zone. It'd be cool if you could go to the Nebraska Football Hall of Fame and see like the pictures and the stories of players from the state of Nebraska that are in the Nebraska Football Hall of Fame. Wouldn't that be cool, like to go before a game and you walk through the museum down by the stadium? Wouldn't that be
Videos,
neat?
all
like,
kinds
like
of
you come to the
stuff.
College World Series and you're like, you know what? We have an off day. Let's drive to Lincoln. They don't just let you walk into the stadium anymore. Damn Bin Laden. But wouldn't it be nice to go into the Nebraska Football Museum?
Hear your favorite
you could
voices.
make a museum. You could
Yeah.
actually fully make an incredible museum about the entire history of Nebraska football.
Absolutely.
And even
I see this in Lawrence at Allen.
like the ups and the downs, mainly the ups. Mainly we'll celebrate the ups, but you also have to, acknowledge some of the downs. It would be a great. How many teams could really make a museum of
Not
their
that
history
many.
of their team? Maybe 10.
So a lot of them have it attached to their football facility, and it's not necessarily public. Oklahoma and Ohio State are the two best that I've seen. Oklahoma's is pretty cool.
Yeah,
Like
bet.
it's not like large when you would think as a museum,
Mhm.
and it's attached to the building in one of their end zones, which is like their football facility. I think it's the lower floor, but it's really really cool.
Just think of what
Ohio
Nebraska could
State.
do.
Ohio State has a really really cool one as well. It's the front of their football facility that's
Mhm.
next to their practice field. That Severe and I did we break into it? No,
Statute of limitations,
we
you're
were
good.
no, we were driving. We were
Okay.
we were out in Columbus for a game. We were driving down the road, and all of a sudden we're like, "Hey, there's Urban Meyer," and we like stopped and we got out and we went and stood by the fence and watched Urban Meyer, and then we went into their football facility. It
That's
was
awesome.
Weird story. A couple of things
That's
here.
not weird at all. That's just guys being dudes. That's just football dudes being dudes.
That's the name of a segment.
You know what? I don't. This is an idea that has been proposed by many
Sure.
that has not been fully embraced because the first
How?
question is, who's going to pay for it?
Oh,
Who's going to
well,
maintain it?
Yeah.
How are we going to do this? I say make Mike Babcock the
Yeah.
curator
Mhm.
of
That'd
it.
be great.
I mean, but like you just built a new football facility.
Yeah,
That'd been kind of cool.
we're not going to do $55 million for a museum.
I think what they would like to possibly do is have like a wing, like when they have the new stadium, maybe something like that.
Well, so the Bulls do it where they put all 6 trophies just out in the
Oh.
middle of the concourse where you
Yeah.
can just look at them.
Oh yeah,
That's pretty dope. Like
And-
that is like really
Yeah, and you
cool.
can walk. Well,
San Antonio does
you used
that
to
with
you
our
used to be able
flag.
to walk into the North Stadium.
Sure.
I don't think because they have some cool stuff. Once you go into
So-
the new Tom Osborne complex, they have some really cool stuff. But I don't think they've they did during the Husker games where you had to pay. They haven't had like a public tour because there's a couple of things they don't want to give away.
Yeah.
That Nebraska is doing that they don't want anybody to steal, like the
Sure.
idea. But they
Sure.
do
Oh,
have like
okay.
in the lobby,
Well, so
they have
the
the
North-
makings of some like really cool things.
I've taken I got field passes one time and they gave us a North Stadium tour and it was incredible. Like they have a beautiful fountain and they have like
you'd never seen that before?
this
did
was
you
a
go in
couple-
the, did you go in the Heisman room?
I went in the Heisman room.
The Heisman
it was
room is pretty cool.
It was so cool.
But they don't really advertise that.
No,
though.
they don't. I
Yeah.
had no clue that all of this really cool stuff existed. Now,
Yeah.
this was like 4 years ago. And so I'm going and I'm like, it's almost as if like you're like in a public library and
Yeah.
you go to the really nice part of the library that you had no idea that existed. Like this is what it was. Like the entire stadium is full of concrete. And then you come here and it's like beautiful marble from like Italy and like a fountain and all these trophies. I'm like, this should be public. We should be able to see this.
They could put together a facility like the high school museum, high school sports museum in Lincoln. They could do something like that for Nebraska football. Because the other
cool.
question is, well, are we going to make any money on this?
I
Yeah,
think
if you
would.
promote it the right way.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, you
Yeah.
would. Now, you think there will be a groin kick chronicle wing of the Nebraska Football Museum? I mean, we got to honor the full history. We have
No,
to
no, no.
acknowledge. You don't think there will be a 5 and 22 wing?
That's like the Truman Library. You have America post World War II, and then you had Germany post World War II. So you could have
Yes.
a
There
very
you
much
go,
different
Jimmy.
tone.
The
Thank
only
you,
the only
John.
way you would embrace a downtime would be,
If they come
you know
back.
what? Hey, on 7-6 day, it's half price to get into the museum. Hour number 3 is coming up next on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome to Colin Ray Day. This is not Colin Ray, if you're wondering. This be a country singer. This is far from it, but it is Colin Ray Day.
Who's Colin Ray?
Far behind it.
Is this
Colin.
bad that I don't know who Colin Ray is?
He is our cut stopper.
Or what?
He pitches today in Minnesota to try and prevent a sweep.
God! Oh God!
Yeah.
I thought you meant
He's been pretty good after the loss. After the Cubs have had some losses, and he pitches. This is a Colin Ray Day. That's all I want to hear is Colin Ray today.
Your mind was somewhere completely.
I thought
I understand.
He was talking about music. I didn't realize he was talking
There
about
is
the fifth starter
there is a
on the
country
Cubs.
artist way back in the day. This is probably 30 years ago. I think was named Colin Ray. My guy is a guy that needs to win
You were
today
half right
because
then.
we've gone to the target field and have trailed for 18 straight innings,
He
and
played
now all of
bad
a sudden,
baseball.
well, runners in scoring position have been a little bit of Ian
Brewers
Happ
swept
has
the
been a little bit.
Dodgers.
Yeah, they did. It's a game and a half. But you know what? It's a new day, and Colin Ray is on the mound.
It's a ray of sunshine that will touch Minneapolis, Minnesota. Come on, when Gary does something clever like that,
I'm
the Peanut
listening.
Gallery laughs,
I'm
and we
listening.
get a badum. When I do something clever, you guys just look at me like I'm crazy.
Oh, I didn't
Like I'm
take
taking
it as you're.
crazy
I didn't
pills.
take it as you're making a funny. I actually like, oh, he's a nice setup there.
It was very
Yeah,
clever.
you're like,
Yeah.
you're like doing the Open coming
Yeah.
up next on WGN.
No, not anymore. Jeez,
Jimmy, we've been gone from WGN.
I know.
a long
We're
time.
now
This
on,
is year 20.
we're now on Marquee. I know
They still do a very good job on the hockey games, though. On the Blackhawks.
Well, we don't get it here. We
Yeah.
get
Oh, I know.
we get WGN America. We don't get the Bozo show. We don't get the 9:00 news.
Tom Skilling retired.
Is that the clown? Bozo the clown?
Yes. Oh,
You can't sit up. You
Chicago.
cannot sit up, and you cannot get mad. I was not born in that era.
but mom and
I
dad
had a
could
lot
have
to
taught
watch.
you.
I had cable. I've never grown up in a world where I didn't have 287 channels.
We had 40, and I could watch Bozo every morning.
You're not really from Chicago, are you?
Stop it. I am. I know Bozo the clown.
Growing up, Bozo,
I said
Ditka,
Bozo. And you said,
Jordan.
the clown.
Yeah, I haven't heard
Yes.
his name in
Yeah.
forever.
No, the power
It's
forward
been
for the
years
Bulls.
since I've heard
Traded
Bozo
for
the
Charles
clown.
Oakley.
Hey, 7 a.m. grand prize game. I tried so hard to get on that when I was a kid.
Same.
I'd watch the grand prize game
No.
Yeah.
where you had to throw ping pong balls into the bucket, and you
Oh.
went 1, 2, 3, 4, and they got further away, and you won a big prize. It was awesome.
What was the prizes typically? Like a big old tube of toothpaste?
No, it was
Cool stuff for
yeah, it was
kids when
cool
we're growing
stuff.
up.
like
Bulls
pizza,
season tickets.
pizza party, like little things that kids would want.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go to the Bozo show
Bo-
and get on
Bo-
and be selected for the grand prize game.
Bolskis and tickets in the 90s?
Yeah. And then if you got Plinko later that day, that was like the golden double play right there.
Let's be honest.
Stop it.
You lived in Rockford.
I know I
Yeah.
didn't.
Go
I did
Peaches.
not. You know where I
Mm.
live. I'm 15 minutes away from Wrigley Field. I grew up in Chicago. Did I grow up in the heart of Chicago? No, I grew up 8.5 miles away. But I was watching. We weren't watching
Like
WGN.
how long in the drive? Like, does the train go all the way to DeKalb?
It does go far. The train goes really far. I mean, the train goes all the way to Arlington Heights. I mean, it goes. I mean,
It has
it
to.
travels out there. Well, now that it has to, now they're kind of breaking ground over there. But what I was going to say,
Bozo the clown.
I was
Everybody.
watching Cyber Chase, and I was watching Fetch with Ruff Ruffman, and
But it's
Phineas
Chicago.
and Ferb.
Bozo
I
throws
wasn't-
out the first pitch.
I wasn't putting.
You had
on
Ruff
Bozo.
Ruffman. I had
He
Rick
sings the
Russell.
seventh
When
inning
I-
stretch.
When I came home, I was watching Kornheiser and Wilbon, followed up by Reale and Frank Isola. I wasn't watching Bozo the Clown.
Wilbon watched Bozo. He was working in
Then
Chicago.
it was Dan Lebitard and his father. CCC. I'm Betty intrigued.
Okay.
Was it really that entertaining? Was
Oh,
Bozo
hell
the Clown
yes.
must-see TV?
Hell yes. Good Morning America didn't stand a chance in those days.
Is the USA Today show on right now?
Yeah, but the sea cruise.
Yeah,
where
that
it's-
was that was one of your better
Mess ups.
USA Today show. What was it like living in Charleston, Illinois?
I did stop it. I'm not Trey Taylor. Okay. I grew up in Skokie.
Oh, so you're saying Trey Taylor did not grow up in
No,
Chicago?
he's from Mundelein. That's a whole other. Come on now.
Wow. I bet Trey Taylor, who's younger than you, knows Bozo the Clown.
It's funny. EJ Barthel posts the pictures of we're pounding pavement here in Chicago. Yet he's never gotten anyone who actually goes to school in the pictures that he posted. He's gotten guys who go to school in the south side of Chicago.
Maybe
and in the
Nebraska.
north
Maybe Nebraska
suburbs.
will get a public league kid.
I don't
Bozo
know.
and Cookie were the original Jordan and Pippen before Jordan and Pippen.
Simeon's always got some good skill position players that you can go and grab from.
What was the show on before that because an older guy, had his chalkboard, and he'd always put up the slippery rock score.
Mr. Rogers?
Yeah. No. He did have Lynn Swan on his show once, though.
All right, just posing a question.
Go
here.
ahead. Yeah.
Because I'm curious now that you have brought up.
Opened up this bag of worms.
Who do you think was the original Mr. Rogers? Eddie Murphy or Fred Rogers?
Okay. So I saw the Eddie Murphy skit before Fred Rogers, before Mr. Rogers. But then I did.
So probably Eddie was the original Fred Rogers.
No, I knew
and then
it.
Fred
I
came
was
along.
smart enough. Full transparency. I found out about Mr. Rogers about during college,
The movie.
like
That's a nice
3
movie.
or 4 years ago. That he that was
not
a
a
thing.
not a surprise.
Like
Your generation
it's a
would know
beautiful
him as
day in
Daniel
the
Tiger.
neighborhood, a beautiful day with I love it. Like he's great. Now I used to get drunk and watch
So did
Bob
he.
Ross, and
I still do.
I mean,
What are you
it's
talking about?
incredible.
Pluto?
Bob Ross is an insane drunk watch. But then those videos on my YouTube algorithm,
do
for whatever reason, would always lead into Mr. Rogers painting, or Mr. Rogers tying his shoe, or Mr. Rogers singing his song, or like a compilation of Mr. Rogers through the years. And so I would drunk watch Mr. Rogers, and it was great.
Well, good,
It was
because he taught
calming.
good lessons about how to be a good human being. So that's a good way to end your night of drinking.
I totally agree.
Mhm.
That and how to tie your shoe.
I had people to do that for me.
Mr. Rogers was steezy, by the way. He had some motion. Like some of these fits that I'm just
Did you
saying.
say steezy or skeezy?
Steezy.
Okay.
I'm just saying some of the fits that Mr. Rogers had on were very good.
Like Gene
the-
Rayburn on Match
I'm
Game in the
just saying,
70s.
Like his Converses plus his sweaters, I always loved these those. Well, it's a little chilly inside, so I'm gonna put on my parka, The guy had motion.
Did Mr. Rogers have a shoe deal?
He would always tie his
wonder.
shoes. His shoes were nice. He had nice shoes on.
He did switch shoes when he got in, but he
God,
also
Did you
put the
say he was
sweater
wearing
on.
Converse?
I'm pretty sure he was wearing
He had
Converse
Chucks.
or Chucks or something. He had some nice shoes on when he would tie his
Did he have the
shoes.
first Jordans?
He had Mr. Rogers knew how to put a outfit together. He
Mhm.
did. I'm not being sarcastic at all. You see how I dress. I need some
No,
tips.
incredible career.
Yeah.
I watched a documentary, the
That-
Fred Rogers movie, right over here at Film Streams.
That King Friday ran an orderly kingdom.
Yes,
Never,
he did.
and no crime, no incidents. Everyone was happy. I mean, they were 10-2 every year. You could pencil them in for a big bowl game.
Okay.
This is what's called gentrification, folks. This is an all-timer. An all-timer.
We'll be right back
Uh,
after this.
There's a text here. This is from Clint. This goes back to the conversation earlier about Kenny Bell. If he really is getting inducted into the Hall of Fame for Nebraska, that is now irrelevant. I think he had 1,000. I think if he had 1,000-yard receiving in a season, that'd be great, but he didn't. He was hurt a lot. Clint, not a big fan of Kenny Bell. So I asked the
Love the
question
blue
here.
shirt.
Yeah.
So he's the era they're doing. The last era is 08 to 15. Then they will go 16 to 24, but I think it'll be a few years before they start getting candidates there. Longevity matters, right?
Yeah.
I agree with Rory McIlroy said it yesterday. We always use that for LeBron. Hey, man, he's played forever.
Yes.
What about
Yes.
Trey
Yes.
Palmer?
Yes.
Trey Palmer, Nebraska Football Hall of Famer.
Yes. I mean, who else are you going to pick from that from the era of like the 2020s? Like you have to factor that in. But what he did in his one singular year, and I know it was only 1 year, was still absolutely incredible and arguably the greatest season from a wide receiver in Nebraska football history. Like you have to honor that. Would it have been nice if he had like a second year, right? If he was here for 2 years?
Mhm.
Yes, absolutely.
Can't
It'd
believe
be
they
no
didn't keep
doubt.
him in school. What was he thinking going to the NFL early?
Yeah, what a dummy. But like he had if you have the singular greatest season in your position at a school, you should just automatically be into the Hall
He'll
of
be.
Fame.
We're together on his year in 22.
It was insane.
But it'll be interesting. Like, and it's a good collection of former players that are on the committee And they get into these pretty good debates. But would he be hurt? If you're talking about putting some guy in the Nebraska Football Hall of Fame, would he be hurt by playing only one year?
Yes. That is the only thing that is going against him is the fact that he was only here for one singular season and that he began his career at a different spot. But I think that that team, okay, let's make no bones about it. The 2022 Nebraska football team
Stop, Jimmy.
was not good. Okay? They were not a good football team. And he single-handedly kept that offense afloat. Like the whole Trey Palmer is down there somewhere was not a joke. That wasn't a joke. That was an actual.
Oh, I love that season. I know that was not a joke.
That's what they had to do. And when he went 2 weeks in a row, he went 2 straight weeks with not having good games. There was like, all right, is he okay? Like, is this offense going to be able to operate? Like, that's how it was. And like teams were like literally going, if we just stop him from catching the ball, we are going to beat Nebraska. That's how good he was. So yes, he's for sure.
Yes, Jimmy.
Oh, just getting caught up on some tweets at us.
Adrian Martinez, no brainer to be in the
No
Nebraska
brainer.
Football Hall of Fame someday.
No brainer.
Oh yeah.
Garrett Nelson?
No.
Okay. I throwing out because he's kind of the opposite, I think, of Trey Palmer. In he didn't necessarily have that one big season, that incredible year, but he was a Husker and he played for a long time and he was a recognizable name and he was a good football player. And he's one of the more recognizable names in an unrecognizable, era of Nebraska football. Just throwing it out there. I don't think so. I don't think he produced enough.
Okay.
By the way, you can buy Mr. Rogers. There's a Mr. Rogers shoe that you can buy.
Yeah, Air Fred.
Do you want to know? No. It's just called the Mr. Rogers. Do you want to guess how much a Mr. Rogers costs?
$69.99.
Well, shoes are going up.
Yeah.
130.
Jim?
$69.
$375. Look at this shoe.
No.
Look at this shoe.
No.
Tell me what is unique about that.
I'm not buying that.
From this
shoe.
angle,
That
those
is-
look like Stan Smiths.
That's exactly what they are.
Except Stan Smiths are cheaper.
Stan Smiths are
Well,
awesome.
more affordable. They're not cheaper because I have Stan Smiths. I have a lot of shoes.
I have 2 pairs of Stan Smiths. They're incredible.
If I think 100 and something pairs of shoes.
Sean says, the Bozo Show in the morning before school. Yeah. What was the name of the show that came on before? Because it was an old guy. He wore bib overalls.
Yeah.
Was it Sports Center?
No.
Now, in your defense, SportsCenter was a banger in those days.
That's what mine was. That's what my before.
But
school was.
he would always write up on Monday mornings, he would have his chalkboard and he would have the Bears score, maybe a couple other games, and then he would have Slippery Rock. He always had Slippery Rock, so that's where I learned that.
Did Hub
more
Arkish
Slippery
have a
Rock-
show in the morning?
No,
That was my guy.
This was not anybody like recognizable.
Look
Oh.
at what you've done. Did you just see what Fred just tweeted at me?
Well, just let me read this tweet here. The Bozo Show was in the morning before school, and the grand prize was usually a new bike.
Mhm.
Yeah, Cookie. Cookie would ride out on the bike.
Who's Cookie? His assistant?
Yeah.
He was the Kobe to his Shaq. The Pippin to his
All
Jordan.
right.
They
all right.
were-
I
they
know.
were-
Hey, I know better to not to make fun of these people and people's childhoods. So that's great.
And then in the afternoon, if there wasn't a Cubs game, it was G.I. Joe and Transformers.
That's fair.
Bring back WGN National.
Try to get home before Harry sings the 7th inning stretch. Hurry, run all the
Okay.
lights.
Games would start at 1:20.
Now read the next.
And then 1988 kicked in, and they said, let's have lights.
But only 8 times a
What am I
season.
reading?
read the next tweet, which you've created this.
Where is this at?
It's from Fremont Fred.
Is this the one about Rockford?
Yes.
Rockford Matt is exposed. Matt claims to be from Chicago, but appears he's from Rockford.
That is not true at all. And you have now created this rumor in which people are running with.
And he's named this segment. Thanks,
you are
Gary.
unfamiliar with Bozo the Clown.
I
everybody in
wasn't
Chicago.
alive. I wasn't alive.
But
I'm
during
kinda
that time.
They
surprised.
teach you in school.
Yeah.
No, they don't. They just teach us that
Richard
Chicago
Daly,
stands for smelly
Bozo, The
onions,
Fire.
and some
85
old lady's
Bears.
cow hit a lantern and it caused like the worst fire in city history.
But Bozo is bigger than that.
Bozo was not bigger than the
Major
Chicago
League
Fire.
Baseball screwed the
Full
Cubs
question.
over.
Full question.
Bozo is bigger than Richard Daly.
No.
Harold
No.
Washington.
Hey, not Richard Daly. You got it.
When I think of Chicago, Bozo the Clown is in the top 10.
Oh, yeah. Bozo,
Of
Peyton,
all
Jordan.
time influencers in Chicago.
Is he in between Ryan Sandberg and Fergie Jenkins?
No, he is much greater.
He batted after Grace.
How is he greater than Ryan Sandberg?
Bozo the Clown influenced so many people.
Every day.
I can't believe.
Rhino hit a bunch of home runs in a game in 1984.
Are you really from Moline?
Stop. I'm not from Moline.
Do you
And it's
live in-
Moline. It's Moline. It's Moline. Moline.
Moline.
It's Moline.
You are from the Quad Cities.
I'm not from. I didn't go to Augustana. Okay.
Come on the train,
I'm
right?
from Skokie, Illinois. It's a little village. It's actually not a little village. It's the second largest village in the world that has the best bagels in America outside of New York, according to multiple magazines.
You saved yourself there.
And a National Holocaust Museum.
They have the best bagels
I was
It was voted on.
outside
of New York.
outside of
It's
that
if you
part of
look it up-
Indiana that's right
if you
along
look it
the
up-
lake there that is just beautiful this time of
best
year.
barbecue outside of Kansas City.
Yes, there's multiple food magazines. It was like Skokie is the
God,
best
when I think of
bagels.
barbecue, if I
outside
don't
of
go to
New York.
Carbondale, it's not worth it.
Hey, we don't have a lot to hang our head on
Carbondale
other
or
than
normal.
the National Hebrew College. Okay, we don't have a lot. We don't have a lot going for us. Okay,
I mean,
So
I have not
we gotta
had
take
as
our wins.
I mean, everything that I eat pales in comparison to that night in Normal, Illinois. That was such a great
that is
meal.
south. That is way south.
King
okay?
of burgers.
It's not very far from where you're from.
No, it's not. It is very far from where I'm from. Very far.
What was it like growing up in Macomb?
You know, Kankakee is beautiful during this time of year. I didn't grow up in Aurora. Okay,
Wayne and Garth did.
Didn't grow up in Barrington.
You know
or
what? I've been to
Joliet.
your hometown.
You have been. We've
Yeah, I
talked
know.
about
I know.
this.
I once
Did you have the best bagels outside of New York in America?
No. They had briefly a USHL hockey team, Danville, Illinois.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, screw you.
They know
Chicago's-
who Bozo the
hey,
Clown is.
Chicago Steel, though. Those are some pretty good games if you ever went to them out in Bensonville. I didn't grow up there, but the Edge Ice Arena, beautiful ice arena.
It was. There was
Great time.
nobody at the games.
No, the people who went to the games were the kids who were playing tournaments in the rink right next
That's
to
true.
it. And then they would walk over from their game without taking a shower, super smelly, and watch the Chicago Steel lose to Waterloo Blackhawks.
Familiar with Ditka?
Yes,
Okay.
I know Mike.
So-
I've never met Mike. He's like the one.
He was in that 30 for 30 they did.
Was he?
Mhm.
I'm a Buddy Ryan guy. Okay.
Jimmy
Yeah,
Johnson was
did,
not.
Did I
Bozo.
get my
Bozo-
Chicago card back by saying I
Bozo
like Buddy
greater
Ryan
than
better
Buddy
than
Ryan.
No, he's not.
Bozo the Clown? Bozo the Clown is in
Stop.
multiple Hall of Fames.
Yeah. Buddy Ryan was only
Is
there
there
a few
Clown
years.
Hall of Fame?
Oh, yes, there's a Clown Hall of Fame.
Is Bango the Buck right next to him?
No, it's mascot.
That's a mascot.
and a damn good one at that.
Bango. I'm just making fun of Bango.
Let me just look on.
See, now you got people going in here, right? Now you got Justin, who's in our chat. Shout out, Justin. Thanks for chatting. But he goes, I bet Matt is a Green Bay fan too.
Well, today he's a Yankee fan.
Okay, you know what? I want to address this.
Did they hold on last night?
I want to address this.
Yeah, they have.
because-
They've won 3 in a row. They've actually scored some runs in their series against Seattle.
Yeah.
Jazz Chisholm.
Judge looked good last night.
I have a beautiful hat collection. Okay.
Yes. we're not
I
denying
have a
that.
very nice hat collection. You both are very well aware of it.
Yes,
okay?
you do.
I have over 26
Yesterday
hats.
you were a Tiger fan.
Yes.
As you
And
should. They're damn good.
I'm sick and tired of being shamed and not being able to wear all the hats that I've bought that I enjoyed because people are like, man, you're a Cubs fan. You can't wear a hat of another team. You know what? I have so many hats on my wall that I cannot wear because of these people who are making these imaginary rules. Today, I wore this Yankees hat on purpose to stand up to the man, to say I can wear whatever hat I want. And that's what I'm doing. And then I get offended by people when they make fun of me.
DJ
What'd
LeMahieu
you
doesn't
think of
get
your
for signing.
pitcher last night?
I wasn't watching the Yankees.
He's good.
Are you not a Yankee fan?
No.
Schlitter?
I'm just a hat. I'm wearing the hat. It keeps look at my hair. My hair's so long. I got to keep it together.
I did notice that. It's getting nice.
We're
Keep at
getting to the
it.
point where I had to readjust my
Wikipedia
hats.
here. Larry Harmon's Bozo, the world's most famous clown.
Not Larry Hagman.
I was watching
has-
Stuart Scott.
He is the only person ever in the history of the city of Chicago to get the keys to the city twice.
Not even Jordan.
Not even Jordan.
Damn.
Not even Jordan.
That is wild. Look, I began my mornings with
Not even
Stuart Scott and
Bob
Pat
Butterbean
Tomasula.
Love.
All right. That's how I began my morning with a nice little, Tom Skillen. Hey, it ain't gonna rain today. That's how I begin every morning.
story in 1985 that to help with the viewership of the Super Bowl,
This is wild.
Bozo's Circus was aired locally before the Super Bowl began.
Hell yes. They knew what's up.
They wanted a lead in to the Super Bowl in 85. They chose to have Bozo's
By the
show
way,
on.
I'm not saying I didn't know who Bozo the Clown was. Okay. It's just I haven't heard of his name in maybe a decade. And I did not watch him growing up.
Well, he did,
because he wasn't on TV.
the original Bozo did pass away about 7 years ago.
Yeah, I remember.
I mean, he sounds like
Rest
a
in peace.
He got 2 keys to the city.
It was a big
Yeah.
deal.
That's insane.
He brought
Yeah.
Chicago back.
He got votes in the mayoral race every year,
Well, I mean,
with good
or every
reason.
time they had a mayoral race.
probably do just as good of a job. I mean,
He would have. I mean, he would have looked
That's
out for all of
probably-
Chicago.
That's why he was,
there are probably multiple
that's why he's
Chicago mayors that are next to him in the
greater-
Clown Hall of Fame.
Greater than Richard Daley.
Mhm. Even Lee Elliott liked
Tweet
him.
here before we go to the break. This is from Sergeant Holka's Big Toe.
You never don't get a chuckle out of me when you read his full Twitter handle.
Because he's
You
a great
should
man.
put that in your search engine.
Sergeant Holka's Big Toe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay.
Oh, lighten up,
Oh.
Francis.
Galena?
Stop it.
Okay, just people are asking.
I'm from Skokie, second largest village in the world, sister city to Pisa in Italy.
The Pisa?
Yes, we have a leaning tower next to our YMCA.
Okay, I've seen Wayne's World, so yeah, you're right.
Wayne's World.
Since
Party on, Wayne.
Since you're on the
Party
topic
on,
of
Carl.
clowns, and of course Matt is at the heart of this conversation, does he have a Max Patkin hat in his impressive collection? Max is in the Clown Hall of Fame.
No, I don't.
Okay. You familiar with Max?
No, I'm not. Who's
San Diego Chicken?
no?
Okay.
Who's that? What's the San Diego Chicken?
Yeah, Dan
Is that
Fouts'
just
top
Fernando
receiver.
Tatis Jr.'s nickname?
Yeah, go with that.
Mhm.
Who's Max Patton? He sounds like
Patton.
a banker. Let's see Van Patten's card. Oh my God, it's got a watermark.
You're from Peoria. aren't you?
I'm not. I'm not. I am from Skokie, Illinois. Born and bred.
Where is that by?
It's 11 miles north of the city of the Loop,
Of what?
Chicago.
It's a couple hours
I'm
south
from
of Milwaukee.
Skokie. Everybody knows I'm from Skokie. When you look at my player card on, it would say from Skokie, Illinois. I've had an elite
we'll
prospects
get some
page.
clarification here.
East St. Louis.
When we come back,
I'm not from East.
are you going to root for a second-tier team this year?
Yes. I hope.
The Littles against the Goliaths. I'll tell you what I'm proposing
I'm
here
not- I'm
when
not
we
putting
come
up with
back
you,
on
drop.
1620 The Zone.
you're laughing over there because you know the monster that you've created. You know, because now I'm getting all of these tweets saying, I think Matt is from insert Southern Illinois city.
Don't forget Hammond. Hammond's been mentioned.
I'm impressed, by the way, of your ability to say multiple Southern Illinois cities and just rattle them off, unless you had them like pulled up on like your
WGN.
computer.
No.
That's where I learned all my suburbs growing up.
Brian Blade, our friend, goes, are we sure Matt isn't from Joliet?
I would still consider that Chicago.
It's not Chicago.
Yeah.
Sorry?
I think you're more of a Quincy guy.
Quincy Aces. Isn't that that's a minor league baseball team, right?
Quincy Carter was
Is it
former
the Quincy
Cowboy quarterback.
Aces or the Quincy? I don't know. I applied to be their announcer. They told me I wasn't good enough. So
In Quincy, Illinois?
yeah, in Quincy.
Summer League team?
Yeah, tough one. It was a tough blow. Tough blow for the morale.
Terry says it's Max Patkin, who was the clown prince of baseball, who has performed probably many times out of Rosenblatt Stadium. He also was in Bull Durham.
Is that Tiburon Terry who
Yeah,
emailed you?
yeah.
I can't believe Tiburon Terry emailed you and didn't tell you about my 340-yard drive yesterday. That was right down the middle.
It didn't pertain to the segment. That's probably why. But
You know what? I mean,
After I shot a 53, Terry needs to start hyping me up to you. I'm trying to train for member guest, right? That's really this is what the summer has been about. It's been all about improving my game. So next year I meet a bunch of country club people and they'll be like, hey Matt, do you want to be my guest? And I don't embarrass myself. That's what this year has been a tune up to. It's been going pretty terribly.
nice drive. Nice drive. You could
Thank
play at the Crab Orchard Golf Club when you go back home in Carterville, Illinois.
Carterville. I haven't even heard of Carterville. I don't even know where that is. If
Looks
you
like a
told-
beautiful golf course.
If you told me to put Carterville on a map, I could not.
Well, I mean, you say home. Okay, so there was an interesting thing at the Big 12 Media Days had it was interesting 2 days. Matt Campbell wanted to speak about loyalty and then admitted that Iowa State's a poverty program. Of course, you had one of the newer football coaches in the Big 12, and then you had one of the third-year head coaches in the Big 12, and then you had Texas Tech yesterday. So did you guys see the rounds that Cody Campbell was making yesterday?
No.
So Cody Campbell is the mega booster for Texas Tech.
Oh.
And
we should all have a
I
Cody
did
Campbell.
see- I
he
did
went
see that.
up and down Radio Row in Frisco, Texas. So this is one of his things is people get to figure out what Texas Tech is doing.
Watch
And
Landman.
and are we rooting
I
for
am.
Texas
I
Tech?
am.
We want to see the lower tier team rise up
Yes.
in football.
Yes. I want to see it because it will be proof of concept that, hey, if you put a lot of money into a program and you're able
I'm
to
with
get
that.
good players and then you're able to win, it proves that, hey, anybody can win now. Anybody can do this. If you have the right investments, you can do it. So yes, I am rooting for Texas Tech to do it. Now,
Are you rooting for Texas Tech to fail or to be successful?
be successful.
Be successful.
Be
Except
successful.
when they play my alma mater.
Now-
and I wish
So
them the
okay,
worst.
so let's just keep it local. They were definitely successful in softball. Now I think they had a really good head coach, but
Mm-hmm.
They did it. What
even
are you
your
laughing
your
at?
friends are crushing you.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is not a me thing,
Oh,
by the way.
no.
This all stemmed from
Did
I
you-
didn't watch a clown that was on television 45 years ago.
You didn't know who the clown was.
I knew who he was. I
Yeah.
was just shocked that you brought him up.
Yeah.
Who are my
surprised they
friends?
didn't
Is Connor,
teach you
is Connor ripping
Connor
me up?
texts in here. He said, I said, have you ever heard of Bozo the Clown growing up in Chicago? He said, absolutely. My dad went on the show as a little kid.
Oh,
All right.
that's cool.
Well, first off,
Hope he did
Connor
well.
Clark isn't from Chicago. Connor Clark's from Lake Forest.
Uh-oh,
okay?
here we go.
That's 45 minutes from Chicago.
Oh, my
All right?
God.
I'll
Connor
sit this
Clark-
one out.
Connor Clark is closer to Oshkosh than he is Chicago. So I don't want to hear about it, all right? Connor Clark is more likely to get a spotted cow than he
Hey.
is an old style.
Hey, brother, welcome to Nebraska, where, you know what? People in Gretna say, I'm from Omaha. People in Millard go, Omaha. You know what? We're all Omahans here.
No, this is great. This is why I love this community. But I'm just telling you right now, Connor Clark shouldn't be opening his mouth about who isn't from Chicago. All right. If he wanted, he's closer to a New Glarus factory than he is to his closest Miller Lite.
I hear they have a lot better beers than Spotted Cow.
Okay. Much better. Two naked ladies.
That's what
okay.
I heard, yeah.
Incredible.
Connor responds. He says, I wonder if Matt's told you the story about growing up in Tama, Iowa. Did
No.
you go to North or South Tama High School?
I did
Okay.
not go to
All right,
either.
back to Cody Campbell. So this is one of the things he said yesterday Well, let me go back here. Look at it from the Nebraska lens.
Mhm.
Nebraska doesn't have one of these mega boosters who he said yesterday that he has built and sold companies and has made about $15 billion.
then he said right under that, I'm not a dumbass.
Yeah. He's very fascinating and he's very engaging. But if it works at Texas Tech, go from the Nebraska lens. What's the reaction around here? If it works and if it doesn't. Because when I say, are you rooting? You said immediately, yes, I'm rooting for Texas Tech, and you're not alone.
Yes.
But if they succeed, and let's say Texas Tech in the next 3 years is in the playoff.
I don't know if that's enough to deem it successful.
Okay.
I think they have to be in the national championship, or they have to be a
Joey will be
national
under a
champion.
lot of pressure because now that they've gone all in, they'll go buy a coach. They'll buy Urban.
I think it's been proven that you can make the college football playoff like ground roots, like you can build it and you can get there and you can kind of do it whatever you want to call it, traditionally or whatever. If they're spending this amount of money, I think it has to be national champion runner up at least for us to be like, okay, this can really, this is super effective. So if he does that, if they accomplish that, the reaction will be from not just Nebraska, from everywhere. We need to find our golden goose and we need to find the money.
So this may be a better, keep with that thought.
Sure.
If you're Nebraska, are you rooting for Texas Tech to work? Or are you like the Georgias of the world that are like, you ain't going to get us. Do what you want, buddy. Spend all the money you want. It ain't going to happen.
Who do you relate more to?
Yeah, that's probably a better question. But he has a thing.
That's a great question.
He has a thing where, so this is he did mention yesterday that he has spoken to the president many times about the future of college athletics.
Sure.
And he has his ear. By the way, there is a bill that's being introduced today that is actually really good in terms of cleaning up some of the rough edges. It's too much to get into. We'll get you into the weeds. But here's this thing. So his belief is the 4 power conferences should pool their collective rights and generate significantly more revenue. As you know, the Big Ten and the SEC, they control their own brands, their television windows, their own networks. He used a quote last night in his interview because the person that was interviewing was like, you have heard of the Big Ten and the SEC.
Yeah.
And he said he was told, said, this isn't going to work because why would we share our revenue when we have the product that bears the fruit and others don't? And so then he said, I spent more money. There's another part of what Texas Tech is doing, because Deion spoke about this yesterday, about there should be a salary cap on the Rev. You look at Ohio State, they spent all this money. The teams that spent a lot of money on their roster are playing for the title. Should we set our expectations based on how much your university is spending on football, how much they have devoted of their rev share to football? Because if Nebraska says, yeah, we're only giving football 55%, should we go, okay, so that's the expectations this year? But if they say, this is the year we're at 80%, and I'm just using hypothetical numbers, then we go, 80%, that means that's a playoff, right? Because this is back to the Texas Tech argument.
Sure.
If I'm a Texas Tech booster and my guy who, has a lot of oil money and other stuff, if Texas Tech is spending all this money on their roster, shouldn't they win a national championship?
Yes.
Okay, so that's my expectation.
Yeah.
But if Jimmy, Lance Leipold yesterday says, it's going to be a rough year because my AD over there, Travis, he's only given us 40%.
Yeah.
Then you're like, okay, all right, you win more than 4 games. Good job, Lance.
Well, I think at some point
we need oil money.
I think at some point what you're talking about is where does the blame get shifted or where does the responsibility get shifted? When you have a team that isn't investing, when you have an athletic department that isn't investing enough into football or as much as you want them to, you shift the blame. on the athletic department. You go, why aren't you doing this? Why are you as a director allowing this to happen? But if the athletic director invests a lot into football, then that responsibility shifts to the coach. Because then it's like, hey, you are given the resources. You are given the map. You are given the opportunity. You got to go out and you got to win. This is now on your shoulders. So that's exactly kind of what it's like in the pros, where at some point it's no longer, hey, the GM isn't giving me good players or the GM isn't doing a good job. It's you got to go out and coach. Look at the relationship between Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman, right? If the Eagles have a bad year this season, nobody's going to be blaming Nick Sirianni. They're going to be nobody's going to be blaming Howie Roseman. Roseman went out and got the players. Roseman made the investment. Roseman has given the map to Sirianni. He's got to go out and win. It's going to be the same thing in college sports. Now, you posed an interesting question. You said, does Nebraska, and I think you were alluding to the athletic department, does Nebraska want Texas Tech to win? I think
because it kind of goes against everything that Nebraska's current operation stands for, right?
I think just in general across college football, there are a lot of teams who wouldn't want them to win because then it would put a ton of pressure on them to go out and find that money, to go out and contend, because it's going to be if Texas Tech can do it, why can't you do it? And that immediately puts a ton of pressure on a lot of people who probably have pretty good reasons as to why they couldn't do what Texas Tech is doing, but it doesn't matter.
So which team does not fit here? Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Miami, Notre Dame, Texas Tech.
Texas Tech.
Yeah.
What is the list of what list is that of though?
This is Kurt Cignetti said these are the biggest spenders right now in college football. The most expensive rosters. Like Ohio State. They had the most expensive probably Texas had the most expensive roster last year, but Texas made it to the semifinals, so okay. Ohio State won a national championship. Okay. We made a big deal about how much they were spending. The expectations were to win a national title.
And they did it.
They won a national title. Like LSU is an interesting test case. LSU spends a lot on their roster. Are you getting a return on investment?
No.
I'm just wondering, like, moving forward, if the fan expectation, because if I'm committing the dollars, my expectation is what my dollars are giving to you. But if a fan goes, I guess we're not spending much on football.
But
if we're spending a lot, damn right, Brian Kelly, let's go.
But it would suck that. I am interested though with the Texas Tech. What really piques my interest about it is the ROI is winning, right? Like the return on investment is seeing your team win. But at what point is that no longer enough? Because if we're talking like financially, the whole pay to play system of I'm just going to give you money and you're just going to give that money to that player, financially, it's not a great investment. You're not getting any of that money back, right? You're not getting, 5%, of what that player is going to make in perpetuity back to you for doing that. Like you're not getting more money back in your pocket. So the real ROI is because I get to see my team score more points than the other team. But at what point do we run into college football where there are more and more financial experts who are like, this is not a good investment really for your bank account to just give money to players for them to just
that's been the whole, if you were looking at your athletic department as a business, you might have two sports. So you never have looked at it as you don't run it like a normal business, even though it is technically a Fortune 500 company, because you would start cutting, you would doge things that don't return money, and you'd be down to one or two sports. In some places, you might only be down to one sport. So the thing about college athletics is it's an emotional buy. Mm-hmm. Most people that root for Nebraska, root for Creighton, went to school there. Mm-hmm. I don't believe that you can't be a booster of a school that you didn't go to. Okay? If you want to support that program, you support that program. But that's a big thing in college is, I don't know how you can be a booster. The only people that support the program financially are the people who went to school there. The majority are, but that's not always the case. But it's in a college, high school and college athletics for a buy to support by advertising that. It's all an emotional buy.
Sure.
It's more emotional than it is a return on investment. But if I'm doing pro, it's a return on investment because I'm supporting the pros. Now you don't have, of course, the college model and the pros, but it's more of I want my team to win. Oh, okay. Well, you know what? If we don't get our, what am I looking?
Yeah.
I'm looking to be my enjoyment. And there's a lot of people that will, say, okay, enough is enough. You're not winning enough. But you know what? That person also says, you got to get rid of that coach. I'll help you with his buyout and I'll help you bring in a new guy.
I just wonder if it just sounds like a burstable bubble, like to me.
Oh yeah. It's scary. It's scary. I mean, we've been talking about that for a while, that college athletics is, when is it all going to end? When is the TV money going to disappear? And the next thing you know, you turn left, you turn right, and you got Cody Campbell's of the world.
Who are,
I'd say this will be like looking at Texas Tech from Nebraska standpoint, this is where now the inbox is going to fill up with Warren Buffett stuff. If Texas Tech can have a guy like this, how come Nebraska can't have a guy like that? How come they can't have one big booster that just bankrolls everything? How come they can't have a Terry Pagula, who is the owner of the Buffalo Sabres, the family, and they basically support financially the Penn State hockey program from top to bottom. I mean, all the finances are from the family.
Well, the Penn State wrestling team has that as well. Like, I will never forget that Mark Manning quote where he goes, if I got to go and get, this amount of money, I got to talk to like a lot of people. If Penn State needs to go and get this money, they talk to one guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's really all, it's crazy in a way that college sports has come down to how rich is your alumni base, or how rich is the base of people that care about your team. But that's kind of where we're at.
But hadn't that always been the case in college athletics?
But now it's open. Now it's out in the open. Now it's like it is. Well, now you have in the past, right? Like these under the table transactions that happened and the money that was coming through. You didn't have guys having interviews with USA Today saying, "Oh yeah, I am completely bankrolling and helping my college football team pay for these players." Like it's so much more out in the open, and it's.
So maybe this is the case. Nebraska was more successful when you couldn't cheat, but they found a way to have county scholarships and host families.
I don't know about. I can't really speak on that, but what I can speak to is that
being a little bit tongue in cheek.
Yeah,
so.
but Nebraska isn't in a bad position by any means. But
no, financially because they're a standalone from the rest of the university. They're actually in a good spot.
Yeah.
Sometimes it hamstrings them because there's cuts on the campus in academics, and people push back on athletics, even though athletics has their own pool of money.
But Nebraska isn't necessarily. They don't have. I think people would love for people to talk about Nebraska the way we're talking about Texas Tech as this. Hey, they're spending all this money. They're making new waves. They're trying to break the mold. They're trying to be a top team. They're trying to win a national championship. And it's kind of rare and random in a way to be one of those teams, to just have one of those people exist and then have those people willing to give a lot of money in order to do that is not, it's no small potatoes. And it's just, it's a weird thing though, where we sit here and we go, man, I wish we had that. And why don't we have that?
Oh, and every program that doesn't, they're looking at Texas Tech. That's why I asked the question, how many people will be rooting for Texas Tech or how many people will be like, I hope they fail miserably?
I think a lot of fans will root for Texas Tech because they want Texas Tech's success to trigger their athletic department to try and do something like that, to try and find the money to spend it. And I think there are a lot of athletic departments who don't want Texas Tech to win because they don't want to be triggered and they don't want to go through that stress and they don't want to have that added extra pressure of trying to find that. No,
that's the thing. No, it's not the athletic department's spending money. Can you find
the donor? Can you find the money?
Yeah. All right. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Did you really live in Clinton, Iowa?
Stop.
That's what somebody just asked.
Never. No. I'm from.
Oh, you're smart, man. Clinton would be a little bit tough. Yeah.
We got a lot of Chicago experts now in the chat, by the way. I didn't know everybody was just from Chicago now. Everybody telling me where I'm from. I'll tell you, you don't know where I'm from.
Jimmy and I are from Chicago based on this conversation this morning.
You don't know where I'm from, dog.
Brad Muster was my hero.
That's a little Clint Dempsey quote for you in the morning.
I grew up in an apartment just down the street from Chicago University on the south side of Chicago.
Did you?
We're back with more after this on 1620 The Zone. People are asking, is your favorite Chicago baseball team located in Rosemont, Illinois?
No, I'm not a Chicago Dogs fan.
Okay. Is Butch Hobson still the manager there?
I don't
Damn,
know,
I
but
remember
Impact
him.
Field looked great when I passed by it the other day on my way to.
They put on a really good show. That's in the American Association, the same league as the Salt Dogs.
I
They do a
haven't,
really nice job there.
I haven't been to a game,
Yeah.
but I know a lot of my friends who have been to games
Lot
and
of-
who
lo-
consistently go to
Yeah.
games and enjoy them.
A lot of people that if you fly from Omaha to O'Hare, you will at some point fly over their stadium.
Yes,
Yeah.
and if you go, you won't pass it when you drive back past O'Hare because you got to go south toward Indiana
And when you-
to do that.
Get on 55 going south towards St. Louis when you go home.
No,
Oh.
no, I don't have to get.
You
on
could just
55.
fly
When
to Lambert.
When I,
Be quick.
when I go home, I'm on 80 to 94. Okay, that's kind of or something like that. 80 to 94. I don't know. I just follow. You know what? Do you know how I don't know? Do you know how I don't know how to? Do you know how I don't know how to get home?
Driving your driveway in Kenosha.
I don't know how to get home because I just follow the signs that says Chicago.
Home of the
Okay,
Kenosha Kickers.
I just literally the whole time, every time there's a sign that says Chicago, I just follow that sign.
Oh, do you think people in Eastern Iowa are from Chicago when they get on 80 and they're going east and it says Chicago, Iowa City,
I'm telling you
Davenport?
though that when I go
okay.
home specifically,
Oh,
I don't know what
gotcha.
the numbers are because I just follow the signs that says Chicago, and then I take north toward Milwaukee, and then I get off at 2. So I got to go toward Milwaukee for a little bit, and then I veer
Okay.
off. Then I veer off. But this is. There
I
are
just
more
heard
and more-
Milwaukee and all
There are
that.
more. Jake on Twitter just tweeted at me, and he said, "Let's see, now my Twitter won't load." But he just sent a mean tweet at me too about not being from Chicago. I mean, it's just you started these dirty rumors. These dirty rumors.
If it's on the internet,
He goes,
Ed says what Jimmy said. He's seen Hoop Dreams, so is he from Chicago?
yes. If you've seen Hoop Dreams, you're automatically
Shout out
a
Rick
member of
Tellender.
Chicago.
Bob said I have seen Running Scared. Am I from Chicago?
No,
any Blues
Jake,
Brothers
Running
references yet?
Scared was a good movie.
I've never.
Billy Crystal, Gregory Hines.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah,
It was
I mean,
before
I was really little.
when you were down there in Southern Illinois.
Watch it after Bozo.
I wasn't in Carbondale. Okay, I was in Skokie.
Was it tough being a Northwestern fan growing up in Champaign?
No, it wasn't at all because I didn't grow up in Champaign. I grew up.
Urbana.
Yeah, I
sorry.
knew that
I
was.
grew
You
up
walked
5
right into
minutes
that.
away from Evanston. You've passed my house probably on the way to Northwestern games. You take 94?
No, like the community, the gated community there.
I'm not. It's not a
Oh.
gated community. It's not a gated community. District 72 is not a gated community.
Oh, District 72.
Yes.
Is it similar to District 66 here in Omaha?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know I don't know the districts. I barely know what Pacific Street is. The districts?
Don't worry. Baby steps.
Yeah.
Baby
okay.
steps.
You'll
Over
get
my
there.
head.
Roll
Hey,
side.
I don't use
Roll
a GPS.
side.
I don't use a GPS anymore though.
Okay.
When I'm traversing the city.
Well, you know where to get to. You get to your haunts and you're there.
You guys are the worst. Brian tweeted, Gary, ask Matt about his favorite baseball team, the Schaumburg Boomers. I have been to a Schaumburg Boomers game. There was one time at a Schaumburg Boomers game that there were, bang, 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 and people thought it was fireworks. Nope, they were gunshots.
Coach Kerwin
It's like
chimes
where I
in.
grew up.
A+ dude. He said, currently driving to Green Bay. Does Matt have any tips driving towards Chicago?
Toward Chicago?
Mm-hmm.
To stay out of traffic. Let's go tips. The only tip I have for you is don't leave, don't get there too early and don't get there too late. If you get to like Chicago at like 11 a.m., you're gonna breeze through there. You're gonna be
Hey,
fine.
when you wake up, when you were a kid and you were waking up in Dubuque, could you see Chicago from there?
No, I couldn't.
That's why there's no Palins that live in Dubuque.
I don't even know where Dubuque is. Is it Dubuque, Iowa? Or is that Davenport? See, this is the worst part because I can't do this with you. I can't rattle off Iowa cities and be like,
Except
and
Iowa
make
City.
fun of your geography or anything like
Well,
that.
we'll start.
I only know
small,
Urbandale
like
and Des
Council
Moines.
Bluffs,
Well, I mean, Council Bluffs is one of my
Atlantic.
favorite cities in America.
Atlantic. No.
No.
Glenwood,
No.
Underwood,
Trainer.
Trainer.
I know Trainer.
You can drive through Trainer right on your way into Council Bluffs, right there by
Mhm.
the Iowa School for the Deaf, Council Bluffs, Lewis Central.
Spencer.
That's it. That's all I got. Oh,
Okay.
Iowa City.
Storm
Ames.
Lake.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Northern Iowa is located in
No idea.
That's not the name of the
Cedar
town.
Falls.
Grand Rapids? There's got to be a Grand Rapids, Iowa, right?
No, but there's one in Michigan.
Is there a Cedar Rapids? There's always in a city in
There
the
is
Midwest. There's
there
always
is
a
a
Grand
Cedar
Rapids or a
Rapids.
Cedar Rapids.
There is a Cedar Rapids. It's located in eastern Iowa.
There you go.
That's where Walt and Barb Sharp met.
Nice. My parents met at Rogers Park, Illinois.
Downstate?
Chicago.
Oh. They were on like a weekend getaway?
No, it
Oh.
was my dad was a janitor at her school,
Oh.
and he cleaned up his room.
I've
her
seen
room
that
nice
movie.
and tight, and then he asked her out on a date, and they went to Red Lobster.
Hell,
A lot
yes.
of things are starting to make sense this morning.
Biscuits.
It took this long until July 10th. Steve Sipple will save the show coming up at 9:20. Brian Edwards as well on 1620 The Zone. You might be one of the rare people that have the first two cities you lived in for the longest time were capital cities.
Yes.
You move from
No,
Springfield.
God dang
you
it,
move
I
from
fell for it.
Springfield, and then you move to Lincoln.
That's bad even for you. You just fell right into that.
NBA Summer League begins in Vegas tonight.
I can't.
Dallas is a 2.5-point underdog against Bronny James and the Lakers. Cooper Flag.
No, that guy.
Vegas is the Vegas Summer League has become the NBA's NFL draft.
Can you stop saying Bronny James of the Lakers?
He plays for them.
He plays for
Yeah,
them.
that's
It's not Bronny James.
ESPN. That's what they're hyping it
So
up as.
I can't recall another time where there's been so many local connections to the Vegas Summer League, whether it be Nebraska guys,
Omaha.
or Creighton guys, or Omaha guys. They need to add to the list. Frankie Fiddler told me he's playing with Milwaukee.
Hell
Yes.
yes. I got a new team.
Yeah. So Hunter Salas has already played because they were playing in Salt Lake City. So he's with Philadelphia. Tanjay is with Utah. Chucky is with Toronto. Am I missing anybody else?
Ashworth and Tominaga.
Yeah, outside of like the
oh,
Creighton,
sorry,
Nebraska
sorry.
guys. Is St. Thomas on
I know
a
he signed.
I
summer-
thought he
signed.
Philly.
but is he on
Yeah.
a summer league roster?
I can
I
look.
thought you said, but maybe it.
Well, he did sign, but I have
Yeah.
not
That.
seen that he's officially on a summer league roster.
I'm looking up St. Thomas Summer League.
not the Tommies.
It says WOWT
Yep.
says Omaha native St. Thomas signs NBA Summer League deal.
Okay.
So I think he's on the roster. I'm trying to think of more. You got Tanjay, got St. Thomas, got Fiddler, got Salas, and got Chucky. And then that's just the Omaha guys.
Yeah,
That's
this
not
is-
even accounting for the college guys.
Yeah, I can't recall this many connections to the
There's-
summer league unless it was the old Godfathers League.
There's like 10. Isn't
If
there?
you know, you know.
Isn't there like 10 connections
Mhm.
basically in total? That's crazy. I want more than anything though. I need just a couple of minutes of an Ashworth Tominaga backcourt. That's what I need. I just need a ping, 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 shoot the three. That's what I want. I just want a couple of minutes of those just two small guards running rampant all over the court, shooting threes. Just give me 2 minutes of that. And I'm good. And I'm fulfilled. And I want a Bryce Williams 30-point game. That'd be dope too. I'd be a fan of that.
What do you think the first meeting is like between Ashworth and Tominaga?
Hi, I'm Steven. Nice to meet
They
you.
played one game against each other.
I think it's got to be pretty jokey. Like I don't think they have any bad blood against each other.
You see Joel Klatz at 10
Tominaga
and 2.
says, "Who beat us worse that day? You guys or the Superstars?"
I can't believe that happened.
Oh, I can believe it
I
happened.
can't believe that happened. It's so funny that is what is remembered about that game just as much as the ass whooping that Creighton gave to Nebraska was the fact that it has to be the worst halftime performance anyone has ever.
People are saying Nebraska basketball is better on the road against Creighton than they are at home.
Both teams have been better on the road than at home
If I was
against
Nebraska,
each other.
if I was Fred, I'd be like, you know what? Why don't you guys take that game this year? Why don't you play at the Chai? Okay.
Wouldn't that be pretty damning if like a coach got up to the podium and was like, I wish we never played at home.
Well,
I wish we
well,
played 31 road games.
Free hotel breakfast?
And the response would be, Coach, did you guys know that you just recently had a 20 game home winning streak?
It's very quick
then
when
it
you
ended.
forget that, by the way, because it was followed up by back-to-back losses.
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
I love how we
Season
just kind
ended
of
with a
put
crown.
that- Well, the season ended losing to Iowa.
Despite the athletic department not wanting to recognize it,
Why not? Why not put it up? Just put up the crown right under the NIT banner. You know,
the crown in the orchard.
why are we embarrassed about it? We don't have to be embarrassed about it.
Apparently, it's a space issue.
Is that what they're telling themselves?
By the way,
it's
I
a
love-
space issue.
I heard Connor and Robin talking yesterday. I'm hearing my man. He ain't Busta. He ain't Busta. But Mr. Rhymes, going to be a key person this year. Let's play some high school guys this year. It's okay to play them in the first year. Thank you very much. That's my little TED talk. You guys want to be triggered by Kurt Signetti?
No, you can't trigger me with Kurt Signetti.
I think
I love
people
Kurt Signetti.
people get triggered by Kurt Signetti.
I don't. He just wins.
Is Kurt Signetti hurt by his tenure at James Madison? That we don't take James Madison seriously, because I'm going to give you some numbers here.
Okay.
You're a big PFF guy, right?
Love PFF.
You know PFF has Kurt Signetti as the 10th best coach in college football right now?
I don't. I mean, if we're going off of just last season, like coaching, just last season, I don't think that's crazy.
Hey, winners win, right?
Absolutely.
When you were growing up there in the Springfield.
You know what? Even if I grew up in Champaign, I still wouldn't know what winning football looks like.
Well, that's okay. You had basketball back then. The last 3 years, Curt Cignetti is 30-6. Sometimes winners win, but I think, you don't want to see it's a flash in the pan. It's a 1-year deal. I don't think give enough credit to what he did at James Madison, but PFF has Kirby Smart, Ryan Day, Dabo, Dan Lanning, Marcus Freeman, Steve Sarkisian, Kellen DeBoer.
No, God, no. Not over Cignetti. Not from
Kellen DeBoer?
Not from last year. Is this just based off
This
of
is
last
this
year?
is in college football. Oh,
Okay.
Kellen DeBoer
I would
over
say,
Cignetti.
No. I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
He's
I
a
thought
dude.
This was, no,
People gonna
I
see.
thought this was a last year thing.
Kellen DeBoer was in the national championship
I
game
know.
2
I
years
thought
ago.
we were just saying last year. I agree with you.
Damn good.
He was
coach.
25-3 at Washington. I think of his, and this includes his time at Fresno. I think of his 13 losses, 10 have been to ranked teams. I don't know if you guys have seen this. They're recruiting like madmen in
Yeah.
Tuscaloosa.
He'll see. He'll make it his program.
James Franklin behind Kellen DeBoer. You agree with that one?
Yeah, yes. Because DeBoer's been to a national title. But I think they're pretty, James Franklin is
Let's
really good.
let's play a little interesting. Let's fast forward to the end of the year. And this is, remember that last year they finished 5th in the AP poll. That's their best since 2005 at Penn State.
Mhm.
And they're geared up for this year. Some think that Penn State is the best chance for the Big Ten to make it 3 in a row. If James Franklin wins a national title this year, how high on these lists
Top
does he
5.
go?
Top 5.
Does he slide ahead of Dabo? Would it be Kirby, Ryan, James?
All-time no, currently yes. All-time no, currently yes. Yes.
Not all time, but just the current guys.
Yes. If he
Okay.
wins a national,
Okay.
what else does he have to do? I said earlier in the show that Deion Sanders has a lot to gain this season from coaching in college football. I think the only other coach that might have more to gain than him is James Franklin, because there is no knock on James Franklin's resume that you can really pick other than he hasn't been able to beat Ohio State and he hasn't been able to win a national championship. If he wins a national championship, he's automatically top 5. If he does both of those things, we can no longer question anything about James Franklin.
By the way, 2 things that blow me away when I look at him. One, that Andrew McCutcheon is 38 years old.
That's
watching
crazy.
him play
I
in
know.
Kansas City the last 3 nights.
Love
And
him.
that James Franklin, this is his 12th year.
At Penn State.
Yeah.
Damn.
There has been very few coaches who have been able to win as much as he has, as consistently
That's true.
in that span of time. It literally
Doesn't
all
win
comes
the game,
down to
doesn't win the games that matter.
Right.
exactly. It
But gets
comes
you
down
10 and
to
2.
one game a season for
Get you
him.
a good bowl.
And
All right.
he's been close.
So Brian Kelly is 9. Curt Cignetti is 10, according to your favorite PFF top 10 college football coaches currently. 30-6 the last 3 years.
I think he's great.
There'll be a lot of
I
people
think
eating. There are going to be a lot of people eating some crow if Indiana is back in the mix.
They are going to be, because this is not a reload, okay? Curt Cignetti didn't just go and lose a bunch of guys and then grabbed a bunch of guys from the portal. They are returning a lot of really good players from their team. They're
Plenty
returning
of star
a lot.
power returning. Yeah,
A
Big
lot.
chip on his shoulder.
D-line, linebacker, corner, the O-line, Surratt over playing wide receiver. Then you got Fernando Mendoza, who was quietly one of the most underrated quarterbacks in college football last year. They are better this year, in my opinion, than they were last year.
I think sometimes with Cignetti, and I know maybe it's just personality, and it's maybe oh, I see what you did. You just brought all those guys, and you had lightning in a bottle. Not enough is given to what he did at James Madison. They're 19-4 at James Madison.
Well-
that was a legit FBS program. Sometimes guys just win. Sometimes guys are just winners. He might be one of those people that Curt Cignetti is a good football coach because he just wins. He just went to that place. He went to this place. He just wins.
What? Why? And you're absolutely right in terms of what the narrative was, right? It's lightning in a bottle. But let's just rehash what you just said. He was at a non-FBS school, brought a bunch of non-FBS players to a power school in a power conference, okay, and ended up winning. and ended up winning 11 games. Why are we overlooking? Why are we just saying, oh, we just brought his guys? Those guys hadn't played Power 5 football. And he brought them over and they beat Power 5 football teams and Power 5 football coaches consistently.
That's why I maybe would put what's going to happen in Indiana ahead of Colorado improving. There'll be a lot of doubters. Not everybody. There's people that are ball knowers are like, think you might have something in Indiana because they were 9-27. Okay, 9-27 the previous 3 before he got there. He won 11 games last year.
There were coaches who have been at places multiple years who hadn't been able to just get any of that success. And he did it in one fell swoop with a bunch of guys that were overlooked. There were so many players. When you go to James Madison, you play football. You are told, hey, you're not good enough to play Power 5 football. You're not good enough to play FBS football. He took a bunch of guys that were overlooked, and he built them up to the point where they could go and win 11 games in the Big Ten.
All right, Steve Sipple's coming up next, the pride of Columbus, pride of Nebraska, my partner from Decatur.
I'm not from Decatur. I love the Decatur Scalies.
Sorry.
Shout out the Scalies.
Sorry. I misspoke. Galesburg.
I have
I've been there.
I have a Decatur Scalies shirt, and I have. Do you guys remember the Chicago Zephyrs? Remember the Zephyrs?
Around here, we're all from Chicago. Yeah, we Bozo, Zephyrs.
It's one of
Saw
my favorite
Mark
shirts.
Pryor once
That
pitch
and
Black
Peoria.
Sox.
That in the Chicago Buzz, the soccer team,
Oh, no. If you're really from Chicago,
which you are not,
which I am,
which you're not.
the Chicago Sting.
That was a good one.
Thank you.
That was a good one.
I think I'm more Chicago than you are.
No, we are not doing this. I'm wearing a Bears thing right
Put that
now.
up in the poll question.
No, we don't. We can't do this. Because
Josh, are you listening?
No. Because he's going to
technically,
win.
Chicago's
He's
an hour
going to
from
win,
here.
and then it's going to be held against me. This is Jimmy. Whose team are you on?
I'm Switzerland here. I remember,
You're
just
useless.
like in sports, I hate everybody equally.
What am I?
Can I read what Connor Clark texted me?
What do you think your relatives are doing in Litchfield today?
Connor Clark just texted us and said, Matt's over here saying Pat Tomasulo's name is going to get him validation from the guy who founded the Billy Goat. I was with Connor Clark over the weekend. That guy really likes the Billy Goat.
Yeah, he is
Good
Chicago.
cheeseburger.
He is Chicago.
He is Lake Forest.
He's Chicago. Yeah.
He's closer to the Wisconsin border than he is to
He roots for DePaul.
than as close as Al's beat.
I mean, if you're going to admit that you root for DePaul,
Do you know what that
you
is?
are so Chicago.
No, that means you're stupid. That's what it means.
Oh, that's not nice. There's children listening. It's summer. You can't
I'm
say
just
that.
calling Connor stupid. If
There's
anybody
people
else
like Chris Holtman. Calling them stupid?
No, I'm just calling Connor stupid.
Better not call Terry Cummings stupid.
Steve Sipple will join us next. Oh, back in the nights of
Mm.
disco, rolling up in the nice car. The door opens up.
Yeah.
The guy steps out. His name is Stephen M. Sipple.
How many buns did you have unbuttoned back in the 80s, Steve?
Sorry, how many what?
How many buttons did you have unbuttoned? Were you the top 3 buttons were off in the day?
I mean, I still unbutton quite a bit, but you know,
Oh, you do. You do. That chest hair is just popping out.
Oh, that nice gold chain. Booga fever.
no, I mean you got to. No, I wasn't really. Gary knows this. We weren't.
How would I know
we're not
this?
that old. I was 10. All right, I wasn't stepping out of any vehicle.
I mean, it was a different time back in the day. You could get in those places when you were 10 years old back then.
No.
This isn't O Street. They're not being super strict about who gets in and who gets out. I'm not taking fakes.
No, the answer. I never went to Studio 54.
And for that, we thank you for your service.
Stephen M. Sipple, everybody. Husker Online.
All right. But you have been to the old grandma on 10th and Vine many times. So, we about every other week we revisit why past coaches haven't worked here, or and when we did that yesterday. But then there's a current head coach here that would really like to turn the corner this year. If I was an athletic director and I said, you know what, I'm looking to hire a new football coach, and I need to talk to people that have been around the program and covered coaches, so they've seen their good, their bad, and the ugly. What is a piece of advice or a trait that you think is needed to be a successful football coach at Nebraska?
God, wow, Gary. I'm glad I'm in a place I can think, not like driving. In other words, a trait specific to Nebraska. A lot of the traits that probably come to mind at Nebraska would also be beneficial anywhere. I mean, Nebraska's. I'm not answering your question. I will. Nebraska, and I'm not buying time. I'm just saying Nebraska is unique in some ways, but it's not totally unique. This day and age, I think the clear answer is a willingness to think on your feet and adapt quickly. I think that is the most important trait right now in this day and age, and that is not specific to Nebraska. That's just about anywhere. So I mean, just think of all the changes that we've seen in Nebraska's program. For instance, hiring a general manager. I mean, that's not even something we were talking about 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Yeah. So that's the big thing. And Nebraska is very fortunate to have a coach who thinks quickly on his feet and seems to embrace what he has to do, and that is continually be ready for changes on the national landscape that affect how you run your program. And if you don't have that, and I've covered coaches here that I think they would be horrible in that setting, in this current climate. I think they would have been horrible, but Nebraska's fortunate they have someone who's good.
Is there any way to spin, like Matt Rule, 13 and 12 in 2 years, that one of the traits that could benefit him being a head coach at Nebraska is that he has recently failed?
Yeah, Carol. Listen. I think it's gigantic. Yeah, like if you're in Nebraska. Okay, so you're talking about Carolina.
Yeah.
Whenever he talks about it, I feel this sort of guilt because he went through a minor hell, and relatively speaking, he was highly paid, all that. But I feel a little guilt because I'm kind of glad it happened. I think it's great. I think it's great for Nebraska that he's coming off that because the natural thing will be That's the last thing he wants to happen again. To go out in his career, if it would happen, if he would fail miserably at Nebraska, it's just a bad legacy deal. And guys, when they turn 50, they start thinking about their legacy. He's 50. And so there's probably this ungodly hunger he has, which is fortunate for Nebraska. I feel bad. It's unfortunate for him that he had to endure Carolina. But it's great. It's great that he had that for Nebraska.
Nebraska football has always been at the center of conversation. And I feel like Nebraska fans and Nebraska media have always been on the cutting edge in terms of how we write about the team, how we talk about the team, the message boards, the radio shows. Everything has always been like nothing, like we've always talked about this team and always have been critical of this team. I was wondering, Steve, do you think that social media has made Nebraska, the doing the job at Nebraska harder? Or do you think that there's always been this discourse? We've always talked a ton about this team. It's even though you could talk about it a little bit more, there's not that much of a difference.
Harder? Has it made it harder? Has it made it harder to cover?
Has it made it harder to coach? Has social media made
the coach?
made it a tougher job?
Yeah. I think social media has made it harder to coach for sure. Matt Rule's, you've heard him at press conferences, Matt, talk about. Even in the pro, not just Nebraska, Carolina, like the pro football focus grades, sort of energy you have to put into talking guys off the ledge a little bit who had a bad PFF grade and let it affect them. I mean, they got guys would get overly concerned about that. I consider that kind of social media because that gets tweeted out to the world, and that's. These guys, hey, I get it. I mean, it'd be like if someone was grading you every day and attaching a grade to your show. And if there was a few bad shows, it would, that could weigh on you. Mm-hmm. So it's not just grades, though. It's the daily commentary. Oh, my God, he has talked about it. And I'm glad he's talked about certain aspects of social media, like just as simple as, you guys highlight a bad play on X or Twitter with video, and these kids, that could be sort of devastating to them. And a coach has to spend time. He has to spend time with that, and talking to kids, not just talking, but dealing with it on a daily. I mean, however you have to enhance that kid's confidence. Sometimes it's not just simple. It's not simply. Sometimes just a simple chat. There's a lot that can go into that. So, I think it's made coaches' jobs, I will say, immeasurably harder.
Wow. Now you bring up the PFF grades. Is that something that you think we're heading towards in college football?
Well, we do them already.
Yeah. Well, I know, but I'm talking about your discourse about how players are getting upset, and that's something that Matt Rule had to deal with in the NFL. Do you think we're on that path for college football as well?
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm sure that Nebraska players, we post grades.
Yeah.
Sean and Robin, it's the first thing they do on Sunday mornings. Those grades are up on our site by noon. You can see how players grade it. I mean, it's sometimes, listen, for some guys it's great. They grade well, but what if you grade poorly?
Yeah.
Well, what if you don't feel like the grade is fair? And they're not, and I'd say, the grading system naturally is flawed. Of course it's flawed. I mean, it's hard to do. It's hard to turn it around for that quick. Sometimes it's just not going to be it's not going to be all that accurate. Not a lot of times it is, but yeah, you can imagine. It's not hard to imagine the impact that would have on a kid, or even a coach. I mean, even if I guess a younger assistant or any assistant. Age doesn't really matter. So, I get it. I mean, I always say better times. I mean, the 70s and 80s were just better times. I mean, we didn't have all this in our face. Now, you could spin it around. People do this all the time and say, well, it's just great information.
Sure.
Why is that? Why is that? What's wrong with that? Well, it depends on who you are. It depends where you're at in the conversation. If you're the one getting graded, rough conversation. If you're the one being targeted on Twitter, a young player who drops a pass, and there it is, and it plays over and over and over and over. Come on, man, that's not easy.
Steve Sipple joining us. So kind of along the lines of this conversation, why are we so hesitant to not admit out loud that college football is NFL light? You know, we're going to get this in 2 weeks in Vegas. We're going to get it next week at the SEC. Mike Gundy basically, in a scrum yesterday, is started to say the stuff out loud that a lot of people are saying privately, that we're headed towards collective bargaining. It's better to make them employees, all of that kind of stuff, which leads to the discourse in some places where you go, well, that guy's a pro athlete, so I can do and say whatever I want to that kid. Forgetting everything they've done against college, that they've fought against saying to college athletes because they're other college kids. Now we look at them as pro. But even Deion yesterday, and there are a lot of stuff, and I've said this many times. There's a lot of stuff that Deion Sanders says that I believe in, whether as a coach, as a player, as a mentor, all of those things. But then he goes into Coach Prime. But he was talking about, hey, we should have a salary cap. And then on the other hand, he's talking about stuff that should just stay college. Why do you think that we are still hesitant in 2025 not to just say, you know what, guys, we're NFL light and we have to embrace it?
I think there's a hesitancy, Gary, because it's still the conversation is still very fresh, and we loved college football for 100 years, or it depends on your age, but we loved college football. I mean, for me, I say it somewhat facetiously, but I just wish it was 86 all the time, 1986. I wish it was still Bo Jackson and Woody Hayes, and it just seemed like I don't know, college football I don't know how to put it. I mean, there's a romanticism about it. It seems like it's almost dead. But there's a lot that goes into that. There's a lot that goes into that discussion. But I think it's simply, Gary, I think if there's a hesitancy to embrace that conversation, okay, it's just NFL-like. It's because we remember college football as something we all loved, and we all have this. We all, in our mind's eye, we have this way it should look, and the look is pretty much done. But it's so fresh that maybe there's a hesitancy to acknowledge it. I think that's the kind of thing. Why? And I would say to you, why rush it? Just let it evolve.
But our Saturdays are still the same. Like the music still plays, the pageantry, the stadiums, the way the game is played is still. I mean the players got a little bit bigger, stronger, faster, and the evolution of how you play offense, defense, those kind of things have changed a long time. But there's still. I mean, don't you still get the feels when you walk into Memorial Stadium on a Saturday? At least those still exist.
Yes. My concern is that I do have a concern in that regard. Is it going to continue to feel that way? We always have that conversation. Oh, we're going to have to, the Power Four is going to have to break off, or there's a certain amount of teams are going to have to break off. And I don't know. I don't know if we'll still have those feels that you're talking to. You're talking about how much more change can there be before we can't pretend that's there. That's what I don't allow myself to think too far down that road because I want to enjoy the moment. But that's sometimes in the back of my mind. What I'm getting at is I hope there's not too much more change. I hope that, what Scott Frost told me a few years ago at Big Ten Media Day, they're going to pretty soon, this is all going to about 40 teams and there'll be, there'll be one big group of Power Four teams and then they'll split off and maybe you'll be able to play your way in it or whatever. And I was just like, God, I hope you're wrong. I just hope you're wrong. But that's I just raised that because that's the kind of conversation that, yeah, right now I still get those feels. But if it went to something like that, would I? I don't know. I don't know if I would at that point.
So you talk about 1986 as, glory days in a way.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll ever have a glory day or glory days again in college football?
Well, yeah, like Gary said, yeah.
Okay.
When the games start, I thought last year's playoffs were extraordinary. I mean, I felt when I was watching, for instance, Ohio State, when Tennessee played Ohio State, I couldn't have been more interested in a sporting event than I was that night. When Tennessee went to Ohio State, you had that big conversation of Tennessee fans flooding that stadium. And boy, Ohio State, I mean, it's just a huge monster game for Ryan Day and all that entailed. And I wasn't thinking about anything but, wow, look at this. Tennessee, Ohio State. So no, we can still have that. I don't want it to, what I'm saying, Matt, is I don't want it to change too much more.
Sure.
Totally I still want to have those moments.
I would go back to 86, but I would make sure that Tim Lasher, Keith Jackson, and Jamel Holloway are not in college football, and we'd be good.
I don't know. I kind of enjoyed those. Those were amazing times for Oklahoma. I mean,
that 86 game.
It's breathtaking when you think back. But I still think you do have breathtaking moments now.
Oh, you do.
Oh, without a doubt.
You do. I mean, I think the game, what we do the season really well. We just don't do everything outside of the season very well right now. It's all over the place. But the season is still, because of the emotional tie. Like 7 weeks from today, Sip, you're going to be in a press box in Kansas City, and it's going to be back. It'll be game on.
Oh, and that's I'm glad you raised it, because it's a monster game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I anticipate this opener with as much excitement as I anticipated an opener in 1990. I mean, this is gigantic. It's a monster opener for Nebraska.
Yep, it is.
I mean, frankly, for Cincinnati too. But listen, this is Nebraska, and it'll be a full house, and there's huge ramifications for the program.
I agree. Sip, as always, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
1990 opener. Jimmy, man,
Baylor.
Shutout.
Yeah,
that was 13-0.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a kickoff classic?
No, that was a kick Baylor's ass classic in Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a Kansas City classic?
No, it was at Memorial Stadium.
ESPN. Yeah, night game. I remember.
Hey,
I want more of a creative name for the Kansas City Classic.
They'll come up with it.
We'll
get Happer in on it.
I want like a GoDaddy.com bowl,
the Rib Bowl. The burnt end bowl.
Oh my God, the burnt end bowl would be great.
You need to have burnt ends. They're delicious.
So the one thing, not only the shutout, because they beat them 13-0. Mike Grant was at quarterback. The late Scott Baldwin, man, when he would get out in the open field and he had the neck roll wearing 29, Pride of New Jersey.
Like Eric Dickerson.
Well, look at I think the depth chart that year, Scott Baldwin was number 1 at I-back. I think Leotis Flowers was 2, and then Omar Soto, who he was ineligible later in his career, was the fullback. Hey, no, was it Soto and Lance Lewis? They might have been the 2 fullbacks that year. Oh, yeah. Tyrone Hughes.
Ah, yeah.
Returning kicks.
I love it. I think
that was a tough game. Baylor was good in 90.
The show that Gary and Matt offers is when Gary starts going down old depth charts of Nebraska football just by pure memory.
Well,
you get everybody's cockles get warm.
There was also anticipation, and I wish his career at Nebraska would have turned out a little bit more, because there was so much hype for Mike Grant coming from Tampa, and he wore number 1, and he looked like
sure.
Because you had just come off of a Taylor Godowski run at quarterback, but Mike Grant looked like the guy, and then he had Mickey. So you're like, that quarterback room, and there were a ton of guys in that quarterback room beginning in 90, and then
a couple years later,
a guy from Bradenton showed up, and the rest is history. And Mike Grant, finished out his career and has had a good football life. All right, 13-0. Yes.
Yeah, tough game. Baylor used to be.
I think
they're tough now. They used to be tough then.
College football was better when there were neck rules. Just football.
You're not going to get much blowback on
Hey.
that.
The more neck rolls, the better.
Or the Brian Cox, that thing he used to wear.
Black shirt defense was better when a guy named Travis Hill was coming off the edge.
I just think that Georgia Tech guy who had the back pad and the neck roll last year in Ireland. Oh God, that was incredible.
The 90 season started with so much anticipation because you thought, okay, defense is going to be really, really good. And they had two shutouts in the first 3 games because week 3 crushed Minnesota in Lincoln 56-0. We just don't talk about how that year ended.
Yeah, we don't. We just talk about the 3 to 7 years that happened after.
Hey, that defense until they cratered in 3 of the last 4 games because they gave up 27 in Colorado, gave 45 at OU, and then gave up 45 against Georgia Tech. That defense was pretty good. It was pretty good.
Pretty damn good.
Yeah, and then, yeah.
Things got better, though.
It
in the
got
decade.
better. I was about to say.
It rained better.
It rained on a
94,
Saturday in
95,
Lincoln against
97,
Colorado.
93, 99 was great too.
Hydroplaning AstroTurf.
Brian Edwards joins us next.
We bring in our Vegas insider, our favorite guest, your favorite guest, the Mr. Brian Edwards, who big 2 weeks coming up in the UFC, Brian, and we're looking to make a lot of money, my friend, aren't we?
Yes, would like to. In the headliner, and look, at two of these plays, I'm going with the older guys.
Yeah,
talking about UFC Nashville this weekend on Saturday.
Real quick, let me just introduce the card real quick. Derek Lewis takes on Texera, and then you got Wonder Boy coming back in the co-main, and then you got Cater versus Garcia, and then we have some interesting prelim matchups. I'll let you make your picks, but before that, it's kind of a gatekeeper card, ain't it?
Yeah, you got some older guys that are facing a lot of younger guys, and exactly, that's a good description of it.
So, what are your plays? What's your favorite? What are you looking for? I know you're kind of getting there.
All right, so these two underdogs, I'm going with the older guys, which is a rule of thumb is probably unwise, but with these two underdogs, if we get a split, we get a decent profit. Hopefully, I'm not betting with my heart here because I am a fan of both these guys, and they've both hooked me up as underdogs, lucrative underdogs before. I'm going with Nate the Train. Plus 210 against Cherreri. I might be butchering that pronunciation. Yeah. I'm going to go with Nate the Train plus 210 and Derek Lewis plus 210. Now, Nate the Train is from Clarksville, Tennessee, about 45 minutes from Nashville. So he's at home here as a dog. Now, the home is sometimes good, sometimes bad. It's not a definite handicapping advantage. I just pointed out. Nonetheless, and the Black Beast, look, he's getting up there in age. He's 40 now, but there's not a lot of his skills are not very complicated. No. He is a big man who throws big hands, and I think his skill set still exists. At pretty high form. So, and he's won 2 of his last 3. So, and one other stat on him: he's facing Teixeira, who's 6'7". The Black Beast is 3-0 against guys 6'5" or taller. So there's 2 underdogs.
That's a crazy stat.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's a crazy stat. That's incredible.
Yeah. I know Volkov and was one of them, and Papa Brown was another. I was going down his list, and I couldn't find the third. It was probably a guy that didn't have a Wikipedia page.
Wow. All right, let's talk some football here. Let's 7 weeks from today, Nebraska and Cincinnati play at Arrowhead. We are now closing in on week 0. We just had Big 12 media days, SEC media days next week, and then the Big 10 media days are out in Vegas. So let's focus on some Big 10 teams, and let's look at win totals and your thought over under. Let's start because we haven't talked about them yet. Nebraska 7.5.
Yeah, so let's get into their page here, which is, still feels pretty high on Nebraska this year. I got to get to the front of the Big Ten to find it. So with 7.5 over -130 plus 110 is what I got written in my magazine from Circa on June 23rd. Is that still close?
Yep.
Okay. So I initially marked them 5-1 with 6 swing games. I had the loss being at Penn State, but Nebraska does have 2 weeks to prepare for that one. I've got the 6 swing games being Cincinnati and Arrowhead, but I'll give them a dub there since they are favored by 6.5. Although I lean Cincinnati plus the points because I love their quarterback. So the 6-1 there. Michigan at home, where they're 3.5 point underdog.
Yep.
I'm going to give them a loss there. So 6-2 at Minnesota. That's really a true swing game. And then USC at home. Let's just call that a split. So what's that?
7-3.
7-3 at UCLA. Wow, you got to play 2 teams that have 2 weeks to prepare, and Nebraska does it back-to-back weeks. And then Iowa at home. Let's just call that a split.
So 8-4.
What does that get us?
8-4.
8-4?
You're at 8-4. You're on the wagon, Brian.
I'm not betting that. I'm just saying. Just a conversation.
You got me real excited.
So part of Nebraska's early stretch where they could, if they are who they are and they make progress, and you look at, they don't play a true road game until October 11th. It's a neutral site game in Kansas City, but let's be honest, it's a Nebraska home game. One of those home games is Michigan. Michigan's got Oklahoma and Nebraska in the first month. One game they'll play with their head coach. The other they won't. Bryce Underwood probably will be the quarterback. Michigan is a very interesting, maybe a boom or bust team this year. What happens this year in Sharon Moore's season at Michigan?
Well, anytime we've got a quarterback who we haven't seen a whole lot of, I go and, I'm never married to my preseason opinion of him because let's say I'm down on him, but, Bryce Underwood just lights it up in Norman, Oklahoma and throws 3 touchdowns, runs for a couple. And, I'll be very open-minded to changing my opinion. But you look at, if you trust Phil Steele's national unit rankings, they're really elite at a lot of position groups. Number 11 at running back, number 5 on the D-line, number 2 at linebacker, number 9 in the secondary, number 5 special teams. But quarterback and receiver are pretty big question marks. So I'm not betting their win total, 9.5, under -162 at last look. I'm already 8-0 with 4 swing games. But I have the swing games being at Oklahoma, at Nebraska, at USC when USC has 2 weeks to prepare and Michigan hosts Wisconsin the week before. And then the other swing game being Ohio State. So, that's where I'm at with them. No strong feel because I got to watch how the quarterback situation develops.
Well, remember, they had a quarterback last year that went into Columbus, went 9 of 16, threw 2 picks, 62 yards, and they won a game. Let's finish with Iowa because this time last year, not many people knew who Caleb Johnson was, and look what he did. They might have their best quarterback in a while in Gronowski, who transferred from South Dakota State. It's year 2 of Tim Lester. They'll find guys to fill roles. It seems like Iowa falls out of bed, and they're going to win at least 7. You got to figure out how they're going to win an 8th and maybe even a 9th. The schedule's a little bit more difficult this year. Road game in Ames, week 2, but they play better, it seems like, in Ames than they do in Iowa City in their rivalry game. What transpires in maybe Kirk Ferentz's last year in Iowa City?
Well, again, another situation where I'm not familiar with the quarterback, but I've heard great things. And here's his stats: 55 career starts, albeit at the FCS level at South Dakota State, but 10,309 passing yards and a 93-20 TDI&T ratio. So just seeing that makes me think this is a major upgrade at quarterback and probably the best QB they've had since C.J. Beathard, maybe.
Yeah.
Not that they have had very many quarterbacks here lately. So, Phil Steele's national unit rankings high on them at some positions in the trenches for sure. Number 8 O-line, number 8 D-line, number 1 special teams, 25 in the secondary. 7.5 under -150 is what Sturka had on June 23rd. I'm just looking at the schedule. I see 4 wins I'm really confident about.
Okay.
I see at Iowa State, true swing game. At Rutgers, I would slightly lean Iowa. Iowa at home to Indiana, that's a true swing game. I think I've seen Iowa -2.5 or 3 in one of the games of the year lines. At Wisconsin, that's a true swing game. Penn State at home, lean Penn State. I was counting Minnesota, UMass, and Albany, and Michigan State at home as the for sure dubs. Yeah. Oregon at home, I would lean Oregon. At USC, very slight lean to USC. Certainly a game Iowa can win. And at Nebraska, they're a 2.5-point dog. So I'm not betting it. We'll see.
Would you bet the under?
No,
Okay.
I was saying 4 for sure wins, but a lot of true swing games. I wasn't counting Rutgers, where they can definitely win. I wasn't counting at USC or at Nebraska, where they could win. They could win in Ames as well. In fact, I think they've done really well in Ames. They've won 7 of 9 over. They won 6 straight in Ames, 4-1-1 against the spread.
All right. We appreciate it. We'll dive deeper next week as we'll be a week closer to the start of the season. And NFL camps will be opening soon as well, B.
Yes. Big fan of the Commanders. I think we talked
I
about
know
it
you
earlier
are.
this summer. We can revisit whenever we need to.
And people can see on MajorWager.com you love your Gators at 9-3 this year to go over.
It's true. Look at Gary.
I'm telling you, I love that site. I think that's a great site, MajorWager.com. I'm glad that you're part of it.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
All right, have a good
TB.
weekend. That's Brian Edwards, senior handicapper at Vegas Insider and MajorWager.com. All right, we got to take a break. We got to get out of here. Connor Happer's coming in next. We'll have the crossover tomorrow. Lots to discuss.
Ton to discuss
about citizenship.
I guess if you want to call it that.
Well, I'm
not a citizen of Chicago. I'm just from there.
We're not. Technically, we are. We're not very far from Chicago.
Omaha is.
We
not
share a
suburb
highway
of
with them.
Chicago. You know what? Omaha is a suburb of Chicago. Welcome, everybody. Welcome.
Thank you. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 6. Crossovers next.